Hello to my galactic family and earthly neighbors. The cosmic rays of Aquarius are upon us. And this month and this week, we have a new moon in Aquarius that's going to galactically kickstart you to the next dimension. All that and more on Namaste Today Live. Hello and welcome to Namaste Today Live. My name is Sensei Christopher Witecki, the Sensei to SeriousJoy.com, here to help you come into your hearts. And now that we have all this Aquarius energy to help you raise your vibration and begin to ascend. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X.com, and even Instagram. So if you're on any of these platforms, do us a favor and say hello. Post your name, and if you can, like whatever you're looking at. And if you're on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe. We do appreciate that. It helps us with the algorithm. Well, this week, we've got some cosmic rays unfolding. Our top headlines are Mercury will join the party in Aquarius, which means you will officially space out and you will go to a galactic dimension, at least while you're staring out the window, that is. Uranus stations direct, so that doubles the energy. It means innovation now moves forward, not backwards. And probably the biggest thing, we have a new moon that activates your new you. And that means it's time to speed up your vibration and begin to fly like a hummingbird. And later tonight, I'm super excited to talk shop. We've got another astrologer here in Astro Mingle. Natasha Weber's here to talk about being on camera, network television astrologer. I'm jealous, actually, every morning from the Southern Hemisphere, Australia. But before we do, let's all take a look at the week's moods and zodiac weather. This zodiac weather is from Saturday, January 25th to Friday, January 31st, 2025. Looking ahead at the weekend forecast, after a bumpy up and down week of Aquarius, trying to find where you belong with yourself, the weekend proves to be calm and clear. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and enthusiastic. Step 5 means that Mercury rules the day. This is a day where you'll be in your mind, good communication, and you're starting to be mindful of a new narrative. With the moon in Sagittarius, you're feeling the story as it was and as it's becoming. And with Venus trining Mars, you're opening up to new behavior about emotion. On Sunday, it's sunny and spectacular. Step 6 means Venus rules the day. It's an easy breezy, creative, resting and receiving day. You'll come to the terms that you belong in harmony and peace, and you'll use grace under any pressure. The moon will shift from Sagittarius to Capricorn, so things might get sharper by the second half of the day, but Mercury sextiling Neptune brings a lot of imagination, and Venus sextiling Uranus brings a lot of innovation. All in all, it's a day of creative problem solving and some good learning. Then looking at the 5-day weekday forecast, over the course of the week, we are building to a new moon and a new you on Hump Day, Wednesday. Let's take a look. On Monday, it's sunny and clear. Step 7 means Neptune rules the day. Expect a day of strong psychic abilities and intuition. You're calculating your long-term strategy and sensing what may come next. The moon in Capricorn allows you to make quick decisions based on your feelings. With Mercury having sextiled the North Node overnight, you wake up wondering what the right direction might be. But later, that evening, Mercury enters into Aquarius and your mind takes it to new dimensions. On Tuesday, it's sunny and sharp. Step 8 indicates Saturn rules the day. It's time to take control of your life and make some big decisions. You belong confident and you're feeling a new ego within yourself. And by the end of the day, the moon shifts into Aquarius on countdown for the new moon. On Wednesday, it's sunny and invigorating. Step 9 means Mars retrograde rules the day. You'll have energy, but it may be a bit passive-aggressive. It's time to belong, elevating your life, and you're feeling a new era birthing within you. It is also the new moon in Aquarius at Step 9, and with Mercury conjoining Pluto, you're going to let go of some old bad thoughts, and your mind is erased of the old patterns. And Pallas trining Uranus means it's time to make precious innovation. On Thursday, it's sunny and electric. Step 10 means that the Earth rules the day, a day for abundance, growth, and growing prosperity. You'll realize you belong producing in your life and ready to innovate manifestations that you already have. Uranus will station direct, meaning it's time to grow. And when the Sun trines Jupiter, good ideas flow through your heart and into your life. And then on Friday, it's sunny and buzzing. Step 11 means Chiron rules the day. This is a day where you'll realize you belong united yourself and into the world. From integrity to beyond is your theme. Of the moon in Pisces, you're feeling that your karma and your history is changing. And we're back. Well, friends, it's always a pleasure to be here on the air, but it really helps if you'll help us by liking this video. If you're on YouTube, hit the bell button so you're notified. And as always, please tell your friends about us. Share a show, share a horoscope, and spread the word. We're here for the love and the light, and we're here for the ascension. Well, energetically, it's going to be an interesting time, my friends. We are, first of all, sponsored tonight by my Countdown to 2025 webinar. This is still live. You can actually go pay for it and get right in. You can watch 2.5 hours. I cover all the basics of the year, how it's a net 9 year. We'll talk about that in a moment, and how you have to be careful because there's a lot of traffic going on, a lot of energy that's transforming. So if you're interested, it is still available. It's at senseichristopher.com. And if you're a Serious Joy subscriber, you will enjoy a discount. Those discount codes are inside our app, usually posted on our comment section in each daily pep talk. All right. Well, we are buzzing around today. It's been kind of an interesting day. Energetically, we are in Aquarius this week, as you know. And this is moving to the second half of the first decan, which means that we are working on ourself right now. In fact, we are going to have a new moon this week, a new moon at step 9. Now, what's the significance of that, you may say? First of all, it's a net 9 year. If you add 2025 together, you get a 9. So we are in net 9 year. Net 9, which I am, personally, I'm 18 net 9, is the ego energy, the Martian energy. So it's interesting that we begin the year with Mars retrograde, literally questioning what we should aim for, what we should act on, what we should move on. And that net 9 theme goes through the whole year, frankly. This year we have Saturn moving into Aries, net 9. Aries is the 9 energy. We have Neptune moving into Aries, another 9. And we have some profound movements of our energies this year, particularly starting with a new moon at net 9. This new moon at net 9 that's going to happen this week is actually the 5th new moon at step 9. We'll have one more after this. So there are 6 9 new moons. We had 3 of them last year and 3 of them today, or this year, today. So energetically, it means it's time to move forward. But we're in Aquarius. What exactly are we moving forward with? Well, Aquarius is the vibration of your soul. Aquarius is the energy that is waving in a certain frequency. And from what we understand, that frequency determines all sorts of things, mostly the law of attraction. What you be is what comes, and what you are being is a frequency that draws in like frequencies. In fact, Aquarius' symbol or glyph shows you that with 2 lines that are kind of going through space at the same time. Those 2 lines are 2 hearts that beat as one, birds that flock like birds of a feather that flock together, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do. Since we began Aquarius a few days ago, we've been working to find a new way to relate to ourselves. Basically, a lot of our issues and confusion is that we do not vibe with ourselves. Your mind might vibe one way, your heart might vibe another, and your feelings might vibe yet a third way. This is sort of a traffic jam inside of us, or a really bad concert where people can't play together. And you could say that, quite simply, our goal in Aquarius in this first decan is to bring all those rhythms together, to create a rhythm of your own soul universe, to bring a rhythm of your inner self. And that has been really the challenge of the week. It's been calling for us to come together with ourselves. Now, there's a simple way to do that, and that is to allow it to orbit around the heart. Your heart is the center of your solar system, your soul system. It is the center of everything in your consciousness. So what we teach at seriousjoy.com is how to love yourself and how to focus on bringing all states of awareness back to your heart, back to loving yourself. That's ultimately the metronome that brings you together, is the idea that your heart is the boss of you and that your mind is not the boss, which is so funny because, you know, Mercury is such a tiny planet and yet it really bosses us around the way we are. Our mind does. So this energy is going to be profound this year. We had a conjunction just this week of the sun crossing Pluto at 1 degree. 1 is the I love state of awareness. And whatever degree the sun crosses Pluto, it's an annual event, it's sort of like a law of the year. It's sort of like Pluto makes it makes it so. And so the declaration of Pluto is we must protect and we must honor self-love. Now that's wonderful because that is the basis of ascension. That is the basis of our ability to go to higher vibration. The more you love yourself and more you actively love yourself, the higher you can fly, so to speak. In fact, I believe that self-love is the key to ascension. I think it's the only way to raise your vibration is to love yourself. A lot of people think loving yourself is outside of yourself. They think that perhaps, you go and buy yourself something, or you put yourself in a vacation, or you buy yourself, new nice clothes, or you avoid things that are painful, which is a good thing, of course. But I have found with my clients and with myself, particularly my biggest client is me, is that it's the small things. It's those little moments inside of yourself where you were going to feel bad about something and you stop yourself. You give yourself a pat on the back. You congratulate yourself and you allow yourself to love. One interesting part about self-love is acceptance. I found that a lot of people will love themselves, but they won't take it to heart. It's almost like you won't take a compliment from yourself. Now, that's a Venus issue, by the way. That's a 6 issue, not taking it in, not receiving it. But still, it's part of the self-love equation, that you have to not only love yourself, but then take it to heart and let yourself feel that self-love. I have to say this last week has been really tough. The universe is calling for us to stand tall in a new way. And the vibration inside of ourselves, I think, has been challenged. But it's been a little easier in some cases because Pluto in this space has given me the power to draw boundaries. It's been easier to say no to myself and others than usual, which is good. And so, although it might be a little tough to put yourself first, we do have the support. I've noticed that Pluto in Capricorn is so different than Pluto in Aquarius. That's something I'm going to ask our guest tonight, who's also an astrologer. I'm going to ask her, how are you experiencing Pluto in Capricorn versus Aquarius? Because to me, in Aquarius, it's been nothing but good. It's given me more strength, and it's given me the ability to, put my foot down and say no to myself mostly. So you might be feeling that as well, too. Now, energetically, it's going to be an interesting week, and I think we should just dive into the week, and I'm just going to not even pretend here and just grab my notes. It's a little easier than trying to be smooth. First of all, this month's theme is being the future today. What you be is what comes. So the essence of the whole month of Aquarius is to go ahead and be that vibration, to think of it as acting or practicing being that vibration. And it's not easy, frankly, to stay in a certain vibe, right? A lot of times our environment helps us stay in the vibe, but when it's just us alone maintaining the vibe, that's basically what an actor is. In fact, sometimes I think acting class is one of the best teachers of manifestation because it's the only one that teaches about emotion, and it's the only thing I know that teaches about, being another vibe than you normally are. The theme of the week is called Activating Metopia. And I love making these words up. Metopia. So the idea here of Metopia is that you are everything you need for you to feel phenomenal, for you to live in or harmony with yourself. You don't need anything outside yourself, technically. And we've been trained to think that we do, but we really don't. And if you want to talk about paradise inside of ourselves, I say it's Metopia. So one thing I'm giving all of our clients at Serious Joy is the assignment to try to identify what that feels like, the Metopia, what the vibration feels like, and to memorize that. Because once you have that memorized, that bliss feeling inside of you, what we call serious joy, then you can use it as a goal. When you get pushed off or pushed into something weird, you can pull back that Metopia and try to bring in that Metopia. The subplot of the week is from integrity to beyond. So we're going to focus in 2 parts this week. One, it's about coming into that integrity. Now, according to astrology, integrity is number 11. When you love yourself, and then you are a reflection of that love. When you are that 11, basically. And so this means that you use love to sort of sit up straight and be in your heart, and then you use love to carry out in the outer world, to push out in the outer world, to move out in the outer world. You always step out with love. So if you are loving yourself and then you love yourself as you step out, you are in integrity. Now, the integrity, I think, is sort of a tuning mechanism, kind of like a tuning fork, basically. It's a self-love tuning fork. I love myself, and I love myself some more. And as we move through the week and we go through this transition, I think it's going to be necessary for us to constantly sort of retune our instrument. And that's mostly because of the new moon we're going to have, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The key question of the week is, what does my love economy look like? My love economy. And we say economy because really there isn't anything such as money, really, technically. And when people trade things such as information, like when I give a reading for a trade from another reading, what we're really exchanging is love. I love astrology. I'm giving to you some love. You love astrology. You're watching it coming here. We have a love economy. So I say to you, pay attention to that, where love is exchanging. And you may find that there are times when you're paying, but you're not getting paid, all right? Now, if you're a person who is always giving love, but not receiving love, like no one's coming up and giving it back, it's usually because you are shorting yourself on the inside. Remember, what you be is what comes. So if what's coming are people who are stingy or mean or greedy or mistreat you, it's a good sign that that's how you are with yourself on the inside. It's been said, and I agree with this, that the first decan of Aquarius is really whether or not you are a good friend to yourself or not, whether or not you stand by your side regardless of what's happening. It's so, excuse me, I need to get a glass of water here. It's been dry mouth here like crazy in Palm Springs. I can't get enough water. But ultimately, I feel like, we are in a place where in this next week, we're coming into a new sense of integrity. We're coming into a metopia. And this metopia is probably brighter than you've ever shined. So, I feel like we're going to start to see things and experience things that we never imagined we would see or experience because we are being someone that we never imagined we could be or we could experience. So let's take a look at the planets and look at them one by one and sort of see how this breaks down. Totally forgot about our transition. The sun this week moves from step 5 to step 12. Now what that means is 5, is our thinking. So we start with our thoughts and how we think about ourselves. And we're looking at, hey, is my mind on my side? Do my thoughts support me or do my thoughts not support me? And we move all the way up through the new moon at step 9. And then 10, we manifest this new vessel. 11, we come into integrity. And then by the end of the week, which is next Saturday, we go to step 12. So we sort of begin to break out of our shell. So one could say that this week will still be very introverted, focused on ourselves, focused on our inner self, and taking things personally as we ultimately should. Mercury in this space starts actually in Capricorn, but comes into Aquarius by the end of the week. And so by the end of the week, our mind is going to be at step 7. So our thoughts will be with ourself, our mind will be tuning into our instrument, and our mind will be there with us by the end. As we start the week, Mercury's in Capricorn, so our mind is still focused on the big picture, focused on power for a few days, and there may be a test of power. Not a literal test, but you might find that your mind, gets into imaginary arguments with your boss, that kind of thing. So Mercury is going to be doing that, but Mercury will move into, our mind will move into and join the space inside of us. Pluto this week is actually going to move to step 2. So Pluto, if you don't know, is the granddaddy of transformation. It involves our ability to protect ourselves, our ability to shield ourselves. And so what Pluto's saying is, we have to protect our self-love. But once Pluto goes into step 2, we have to protect our feelings. That means that we have to be sure to not disrupt the boat, not to rock the boat. And feelings are intimately tied to vibration. In fact, I've always said that a feeling is the sensation of the soul's vibration. So if we're trying to change our vibe, we have to be conscious of our feelings. I think that means we're going to end old scripts with ourselves, maybe scripts where we allowed ourselves to go there or fall down that trap or let ourselves feel bad. Those are the types of things that I think we have to focus on not happening. Now, that said, Mars, although we say that Mars is retrograde in Cancer and Mars is at the dreaded step 22. 22 is when feelings collide with feelings. And so we'll be maybe facing a little bit of chaos in whatever your definition is, worry that things, go off. Like if everyone fights at the Thanksgiving table, it's step 22. But Mars retrograde says, hey, it's time to learn a different way of responding to ourselves than we normally do, a different way of trying to put out the fire. So this week, try a different method than you normally do. It'll probably be a fire outside of you, 22. It might be something where you literally walk upon a fight between two people and them sort of, going at it. Or it could be something where politically you feel one way and you're with a group that feels another way. So, be conscious to respond differently during this week with your emotions, particularly emotions that are triggered by other things like politics or by people. Then we go into Gemini. Jupiter is retrograde in Gemini, but it's at step 11. So we're very fortunate in the sense that 11 is the tuning fork, and here Jupiter is insisting that we tune. By the way, Jupiter will be at 11 the entire Aquarius season. So that means that for the whole season, our mind is really good at focusing on loving ourselves and loving ourselves some more. Our mind is really focused on what integrity is. Now, you got to be careful because when the mind is focused on integrity, it has the option to pay attention to you being not in integrity, or it can pay attention to you being in integrity. And so there's a propensity there to put ourselves down, to judge ourselves. 11 is the number of Virgo, right? And Virgos are known to be critical, maybe sometimes overcritical because they are the 11. So be careful. Do not allow the mind to be overly critical. Instead, force the mind to love yourself and love yourself some more. But Jupiter's retrograde, we've got more to learn there. Now let's take a look at the moon and our emotions. We're currently with the moon in Sagittarius, which means right now you're probably feeling that the story is changing. You're probably feeling that your character and your adventure and whatever it is you're here to do is about to make a turn if it hasn't already. And it is about to make a turn because this new moon coming up on Wednesday is going to be the launch of our new vibration, the launch of who we become. So we're feeling that today and we're feeling that tomorrow, particularly most of the day tomorrow. So it's sort of storytelling time today and tomorrow. Then the moon goes into Capricorn, and this is where our feelings start to help us make decisions. So by Saturday night, you're going to start to feel that maybe you should make a decision to change or change your life. Sunday will be mostly that kind of change. And then we get to work on Monday, we will probably make some big changes in our life based on it feeling like the right thing to do. Tuesday is when we're starting now to build to this new moon. The moon starts in Capricorn, but then moves into Aquarius. And so we start to realize or feel out, where exactly do I belong with myself? Do I belong in the side of myself that's hurting? Do I belong in the side of myself that ignores the pain? Do I belong in the side of myself that loves me? Of course you do. But, finding that sort of Goldilocks just right so that we can feel good about who we are in the moment. On Wednesday, we have the new moon in Aquarius at step 9. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then Thursday, we will feel kind of where things are heading. So Wednesday, you realize that you're going to be somebody different on the inside. You're going to change yourself. You're going to rise up to your potential. And then, of course, once the moon goes into Pisces, we then begin to feel that this is either us sticking with the karma and sticking with the trends, or it's us finding a new karmic path. So in this 1 week, I think we feel a metamorphosis of our emotional self, and therefore we feel a metamorphosis of our life. Take a drink. Moving on to Pisces. Pisces right now, the North Node has moved to step 28. And this is a big deal because 29 sucked. 28 is that you're going to manifest. So the North Node in Pisces at 28 is holding space right now for where we will go in our spiritual journey. And you might have a vision or an understanding of what that is going to feel like. You might feel that you are manifesting a greater you or a greater version of you. And I think that's something we want to pay attention to, particularly the feeling. What does it feel like to be out of the junk, right? What's it feel like to have the karma over? What's it feel like to understand that you no longer have this shadow that haunts you? I think it's an elated feeling. I think it's something we can't even imagine in some cases because we're still coming out of it. In fact, the planets lower than this are helping with us. Of course, we have Neptune at 27 direct, so overall there's a current, like a Gulf Stream, pulling us towards our destiny and away from our past and our karma. And then, of course, we have Saturn this week at step 16, Grand Master step, and we'll move to step 17. The significance of this is 17 adds to an 8, which is the Saturn number, 8. So when Saturn goes to its own number, that means that your mind is made up. You have made a decision that's going to stick in time. You made a decision that's going to last over time. And so this tells me that you'll likely make some decisions about daily life. You know, where you work, how you work, your commute, how you do that, who's with you during the day, who are your people, who are your tribe. People will be making decisions that it's time to move on. And so I am predicting that there'll be a lot of separations, particularly in the work field, because of the fact that we start in Mercury in the beginning, but also in the work field because I think we're changing our place of where we belong altogether. And so that will involve probably social change and, you know, tribal change. And then we have Venus. Now, Venus is what we open up and accept. Venus is at step 22 at the beginning of the week, and she goes to step 27, same step as Neptune, at the end of the week. So the whole week is about opening up and accepting your destiny, accepting your spiritual calling, accepting your role spiritually in the universe, and accepting your mission, frankly, that you come here to do. So I think that Venus is going to bring us a lot of peace, and Venus is, you know, really powerful in the Pisces vibration. So there's the potential for a lot of wonder and awe, especially if you go spiritual and you open up this week. Now, back in Capricorn, I talked about this already. Mercury is hanging out there for a little part of the day, but it does mean that here in the beginning of the week, our mind is obsessed with power or control. So you want to really focus on your feelings to feel out and counterbalance what Mercury is telling you. And then, of course, we have the South Node, which I should have done right after the North Node, but I'll just do it now. With the North Node at 28 Pisces, we're being encouraged to move and manifest a new spiritual destiny. With the South Node at 28 Virgo, we're being encouraged to let things fall apart. So many things will fall apart now. This whole year will be about things falling apart, sort of collapsing. A lot of times I think the story will be it was not in integrity, like the bridge wasn't, or the company wasn't, or the company's financing wasn't in integrity, things like that. And unfortunately, it is sort of tumbling. It is sort of Humpty Dumpty falling off the wall. And the temptation will be to try to save it and try to put it back together. But for the most part, if it's collapsing on its own, it's meant to be down. Then my favorite story of the week, Uranus in Taurus, thank Goddess, is going to station direct at step 23. And this means that you will complete your vision as to what you feel needs to be built next, what you feel needs to be manifested next, what you feel needs to be invested in next. So it will be a clear vision. And because of Uranus, you might at any time be catapulted toward that vision. So, buckle your seatbelts, because when the universe unties Uranus, it tends to be sort of a slingshot. It also means that once Uranus goes direct, if people have been faking it till they make it, if they really don't deserve to be on the level that they are, they'll likely have a bit of a breakdown or come to terms with life, so to speak. But because it's step 23, you'll have a better view. You'll learn and you'll have better understanding. Step 23 also is the word for knowing, or the equation for knowing. Now, Black Moon Lilith, she's no fun. She actually goes from step 22 to step 23 this week. The significance of this is, as you are knowing and coming into your knowing, at the same time, you're also very aware of the times when you didn't know. So if you have remembrance, if you remember times when you were so certain you were right and then you were wrong, that pain will probably come up this week, because it has to be cleared for you to be able to move forward with a real knowing. So anything that doubts is going to be sort of attacked with fear or trauma. And if you have fear of trauma, say, thank you, Black Moon Lilith, for showing me where I'm afraid. One of the things about a fear is it usually sort of hides from us. We think we're afraid of this, but it's really this, that we're afraid of. And so I think she's going to call out the truth of what we're afraid of. And although not pretty, I think it will be effective. And then lastly, we have Chiron. Chiron is, of course, at step 19. It seems like it's been at 19 the entire year. But it means that we are now healed to persevere. Excuse me, to persevere. 19 is the perseverance degree. It's the degree where, the little engine that could, it just keeps chugging and chugging and chugging. And I think we've all had times where we go, 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 and it fails, right? Excuse me. So Chiron is helping us. Chiron is helping us to, keep going. And you'll find that if you do keep going, if you do move forward and not stop, that you will in fact be okay, because Chiron is actually healing this part of you. But the first thought of it will probably be that you can't be okay or you won't be okay. And so the 19 degree tells us exactly what we have to do. You have to always respond directly to your heart. You have to always baby yourself. The way to get from 19 to 20 is to baby, pamper, love, act on, to be there for yourself until you see yourself ascending to 20. Just keep going. But I don't think you're going to be held up per se. All right. Well, folks, it's moving fast tonight. With that, I think it's time now to go steep ourselves some tea and have our weekly Soul Horoscopes tea time. Hello, friends. Welcome to our Tea Time Horoscopes. So nice to be here and help everyone. This is my favorite part of the show. I hope it is for you too. This is where we go through all 12 signs and I give a horoscope for you and just do some coaching for you. And I'm excited because our guest tonight is kind of a sun sign expert. It's what she focuses on. So I'm excited because I've been doing sun signs, of course, for 19 years, actually. By the way, this is my 19th year anniversary on YouTube and also broadcasting on the internet. So gosh, it went fast. Let me just tell you. It's step 18. The 18th year was the hardest, and I'm at 18. So tonight, what we're going to talk about, usually I like to divide it into 4 categories of things that sort of add up to who you are and what will bring you into your power. And these 4 categories are designed to ultimately bring the best out of you, right? And help you be the star that you really are. And I'm actually zipping around here wondering where my notes went because they're missing from here, which is funny. Energetically, what we are here to learn, of course, is how to be the best that we are. How to be authentic is what we're here to do, right? That authenticity is the best part of us. And it's hard to be authentic because to be authentic means that you have to have nothing in the way of who you are. You have to not be afraid of hiding. You have to, not be afraid of keeping things back, not be afraid of what people think, right? You have to have no resistance in yourself against yourself. You have to not lie with yourself. You know, it's not easy. We basically are born being told that we're not good enough. You know, we're being told that who we are is, not enough. The way we're treated is usually that we're unacceptable unless we do what they want us to say. So to be authentic turns out to be a pretty darn difficult thing, right? And so in this week, I think what's going to happen is that new moon that happens on Wednesday, and that new moon is a powerful new moon. It's at step 9 Aries, all right? That's step 9 Aquarius, which is an Aries energy. It apexes here in the United States on the East Coast at 7:35 a.m., first of all. And so it's going to apex for us very early in the morning. And so it's going to be like a jolt of coffee, a jolt of, hey, you can go for it, hey, let's do it kind of thing. And that energy is going to encourage you to activate your new self-love. That's the best way I can put it. It's time to activate your self-love, to bring it into your power, right? And to make it happen, to make it real. So because this is a 9, I recommend that you do something. This is one of those times where it's not enough to have a vision board. It's not enough to have an altar, because you have to put it into action. That's what the steps have taught me. You have to do, right? And let's not forget, it's a 9 in a 9 year, which means doing 9, taking action, is the most powerful and potent thing that you can do. So this new moon is basically saying, hey, you've got to take some action on the inside, not on the outside. It can be because you want good outside things, but that's the motive. This has to be for inner self and take place in inner self. And so the moon says, hey, move forward now and take some action, make a change, and it will pay off. Now, one thing I want to say is that where you make that change, all right, is inside you, all right? The way you vibe. What's different is the vibration. And that's what I think you should focus on. So let's say you're going to take action by signing up for something. You can sign up sort of enthusiastic, or you can sign up sort of feeling meh, right? The way you sign up, the way you go about it, the vibe that you embrace when you do it, that's the secret. You want to go ahead and be that star you really are. You want to go ahead and be the confidence that you know you can be, and just go ahead and play it that way. And you're going to find that when you play it that way, it's rather convincing because the new moon is encouraging this. One thing about a 9 is it's also stop. So for some, this is about stopping things. Stop beating yourself up. Stop doing it that way. Stop giving it all away. So, stopping is almost effective as doing. But if you can, no matter what you're dealing with, focus on the doing more than the stopping, because some doing does stop things. And when you kind of manifest a stop, it could sort of bleed into your life and stop things you don't want it to stop. So for each of the 12 signs, here's what I'm going to talk about. Found my notes, by the way. First, with the new moon in Aquarius, I want to talk about where it is you must move forward and take action with yourself. That's first and foremost. Inside yourself, like where inside yourself must you do it? Then I'm going to talk about the Earth in Leo. I haven't talked about that yet. The Earth in Leo is saying, hey, I'm manifesting new love in myself. By raising my vibe, I end up loving myself more, all right? For people who fail to, by the way, they'll end up hurting more. So it's your choice. You can go up or down with the vibration. That's where Uranus does. Uranus goes up or down. And so technically the elevator could go up or down, especially if you have the vibe of, if you approach it saying you're not good enough, you could go down. The new moon will promote anything, but it's promoting change and it's promoting taking action. So for each of the 12 signs, I'll talk about where it is you're manifesting love. Inside yourself. Forgot to get a glass. Then I want to talk about Uranus direct. And Uranus, of course, is the ruling planet of Aquarius. Uranus is that kooky planet that's on its side. It's spinning up and down, up and down. And it's the planet that ultimately does two things. Knocks you down and breaks you down, or lifts you up, right? So it's a planet of revolution. It's a planet of change. It's a planet of innovation. It's a planet of innovation and technology. So I think we're going to see a lot of cool technology come out, particularly at the end of this Uranus transit in Taurus. In fact, the last time Uranus was in Taurus was when we were so inventive in World War II. Jets, TV, radar, that all came out with the Uranus in the high degrees of Taurus. So I'll talk about where you are innovating and where it's time to now move forward with that innovation and climb the staircase to heaven. And then lastly, I want to talk about Jupiter at 11. Where in your life must you love yourself and love yourself some more? Where must you stand in that integrity? And when I say stand, I really mean in the mind. Where must the mind stand in integrity for you? All right. Thanks for your patience. Let's begin with the Aries. Aries, you are acting on now being someone new to you when you're in public, okay? When you're in public. And you know how it is. We all are a little different when we go out in public. We change our clothes, we change our attitude. Very few of us are the same person in public that we are behind the scenes. That doesn't really matter in this case. What matters in this case is that you're someone different to yourself on the inside. In essence, you have to be on your side. And you know what? Aries, they say Aries are self-centered, but you often will give it and throw it all away to be a hero or to show off or, a lot of things. So you do abandon your heart when you're in public sometimes. And this new moon says you cannot do that, first of all. You must be aligned with your heart. You must be there for you. And you must do something for yourself when it comes to public. So when you go out in public this time, do something for yourself on the inside for that new moon. Take action for yourself on that new moon. And I would say on this new moon, be in public if you can, because it's part of the process. Now, while you do that, while you be there for yourself, the Earth in Leo says you're going to manifest now real love for yourself. This is a huge boost of personal dreams and serious joy. This is your ability to manifest great things. And you'll find that, if nothing else, being there for yourself in society makes you really love yourself behind closed doors, makes you really love yourself privately, which gives you incredible creation power and the ability for romance. Uranus direct says, hey, it's time to make some money. So you're getting a green light from the universe to move forward, make money, make investments. Go ahead and pay off the loan if you have it, whatever. Go ahead and take somewhat of a risk. I mean, it's just at step 23, so it's really about a vision you're following and a direction you're following. But you're going to get a green light to go ahead and go forward with making more money. And then lastly, Jupiter, for you, Jupiter's about your inner dialogue staying in integrity. Your mind has to say nice things to you. Your mind has to be loving when it talks to you. And if it's loving when it talks to you, it'll be loving when it talks to others. So if you're having a hard time keeping your mouth shut, or you're having a hard time being nice to yourself, or you're having a hard time being nice to others, it's a real reflection. That's 11, the reflection. It's a real reflection that on the inside, the talk is cheap or mean. Hear, hear. Taurus. Taurus, you are moving forward with your legacy and your leadership. So you are stepping into, with this new moon, a new way of leading yourself. And I got to say, this is dead on for me. Like, I have been working to just polish the way I act and how I come into my power. And it's been hard for me, actually, to not be judgmental there. I'll tell you that right now. I've had a hard time with judging myself. So I don't get an A on that. But the new moon is saying, hey, it's time to act on self-discipline, leadership, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, the whole 9 yards. Taurus, it's time to get up and get moving. And I know cows don't like that, right? And so do bulls. Now, the Earth in Leo says, as you are really in integrity for your career and your integrity for your decisions, you will manifest a very loving acceptance of your own feelings. You will finally feel nurtured by yourself and from the world. So the payoff here is that Tauruses feel like the golden bulls. If they really stand in integrity for leadership, then they will really feel in their heart love for themselves. So it's worth whatever you have to do. Now, Uranus direct, I think I feel today. I felt that energy already today, which is sort of telling me to sit up straight in my chair and act like a big boy, kind of thing. That's how Uranus has been. Uranus has been saying to Tauruses, your ego, your character, your behavior, subpar. It has not been its potential. And so Tauruses, which are quick to spend money and eat, but slow to change, are being told you better go. And so the universe is sort of shooting at our feet, forcing us to be better dancers and be better people to ourselves. But then we have Jupiter at 11. And for Taurus and Taurus risings, Jupiter 11 Gemini says, hey, if you are in integrity with self-worth, if you love yourself and you value yourself, you're going to make money, basically. And remember, Jupiter stays to this degree the entire month. So this is a fine-tuning of integrity leading to money, integrity leading to abundance. And when we talk about integrity, again, we're talking about in the mind. Don't think about the bills. Think about what you do have is basically what this says. All right. Gemini. Gemini, you are acting on now a new purpose inside of you. You're going to feel driven. You've got a plan. You got a mission. You got something you got to do. You got something you got to be, places you got to be. And this is kind of new to Gemini. They have not been this way since I've known them with my son born. So that's about 27 years. I haven't seen them really, gung-ho about stuff. But I feel like, they'll have gung-ho about an idea, but they're not getting off the couch and doing something. I think that's going to happen now. I think Gemini's going to take a risk and try stuff and go for stuff because it's a theory that they can think about a lot and process a lot. So they like that. They like keeping on to that. And so they're moving forward now, Geminis, with this purpose, this mastery, or maybe even going for your master's degree. That's a way to look at it as well. Now, on the flip side of that, you end up manifesting a much better attitude inside your head. And that attitude is more loving. In fact, Geminis, to be in their power, must be loving in their thoughts about themselves. It doesn't serve you to criticize. I don't think you're going to remember because you criticize. You're smarter than that. So your heart is going to really fuse with your thinking. I think that happens. When you're on your path, when you're on your purpose, your heart and mind will swell together and it'll be a party and very creative. Now, Uranus direct might be a little tough because Uranus direct means now it's time to move forward with faith. And so moving forward with faith is scary because we don't have faith. We have to take steps to get there. And so the universe is pushing you in the pool. You were standing on the side way too long and you get pushed in the pool, and you'll find that you might be pushed in the pool in lots of places because you're reluctant to jump, right? And then Jupiter in your sign, Gemini. I haven't seen Geminis yet really bloom from the Jupiter yet. I haven't seen it. I've seen you change your mind. I think it's change your behavior. I see you experimenting a lot. I see a lot of Geminis experimenting, but I haven't seen Geminis really embrace what God and the universe is doing for them, which is ultimately giving them the ability to change their behavior. And for you, behavior is like very quick because it's your mind thinks very quickly and then your behavior follows really quickly. So probably slowly, slowing the roll and really allowing your mind to think profoundly, and your mind, to be in total integrity with yourself as you're there. So, I think for overall, you are going to be in a greater faith if you treat yourself well and you keep your mind on track. And above all, everything, just aim for that life purpose and you'll get there. Cancers. Cancer crabs, I'm excited for you. Ultimately, this new moon is saying step in your transformation. Get up, activate your new boundaries. Tell yourself you can do it and make that a boundary. Commit to changing and make that a boundary. Sort of change your trust with yourself, or honor what you do trust in yourself and go for it. So you're kind of being told to jump in the pool. You're being told to leap, if you will. But this has to do with trusting yourself and your boundaries with yourself, and who you are to yourself very privately. Now, this is going to lead to who you are with people publicly in a bow way. But right now, it's really that private self. So, energetically move forward, step out of, this would be like, stepping out of an addiction. This would be stepping out of a bad relationship. But in each case, it's not the relationship or the addiction. It's how you trust yourself. It's where you draw the line with yourself. And it's that you step and you act on that. You act on that trust. Invest in that trust and act on that trust. So by acting on that trust, you then, with the Earth in Leo, begin to actually manifest more self-worth. And you start to feel more worthy. And you give yourself more credit. And once you give yourself more credit, so does, Visa. It comes like that. So Visa gives you more credit when you give yourself more credit. So it's going to lead to abundance, ultimately, or more money at minimum, right? By loving yourself and loving yourself some more, and allowing things to come into play with your trust and intimacy. Now, Uranus says to the Cancers, you have to now take it higher with social ambition. So you're getting the green light now to go try something. And maybe that's the trust. Maybe the trust is that you're going to move out of your house, move out of your parents, and you're going to go across the country to somewhere you want to be, or across the world. But your social ambition now is being encouraged. Like, go out there, meet people, walk up and say hi to people. You'll find that you have, first of all, you scare them to death. I think because Uranus energies can just glowing all over you. But also, I think you're going to find that you have more power than you thought, or more influence than you thought. So you're being encouraged to try, take risk in the world. It's definitely a good time to start a business, or start a brand, or start a public reputation, because Uranus direct in the 11th house is saying it's time now to go there and to climb that staircase. And then lastly, Jupiter at 11. This is a big one because even though Cancers are emotional creatures, when it comes to faith, it's all in your mind. I'm always baffled about that. You have Gemini in the 12th, but Virgo in the 3rd. So you're very analytical, really. Even though you're emotional, you're extremely analytical. And when it comes to your inner faith, that is a part of it. So what that means is, like, you tend to have faith because you can count you have 7 backups, or you have faith because you can analyze, how long it would take you to starve to death or something like that. You're using science and sort of reason to, to acknowledge your faith. And it's not that you can't have faith in that way, but there's also another kind of faith, which is emotional based, energetic based. And so I think you are innovating your physical faith to more of an energetic faith, and you don't require faith. You don't require proof in order to have faith. So this will lead to, past life karma, and it will lead to greater spirituality if you just go ahead and let go of the old definition of faith and embrace a new one. Mm-hmm. Leos and Leo risings. It's interesting. Leos are stepping into a new mirage. So a mirage is your relationship to yourself, how you mirror yourself. And it's funny because Leos kind of like to be chased a lot of times. They like, they're the sun. They like people to come to them, right? So their approach to themselves, is to distance themselves from themselves and expect themselves to come winding back. It's kind of funny. So you get in a fight, they make themselves, sleep on the couch, and then they let themselves back in. So you're stepping into an integrity when it comes to your mirage. How you approach yourself, how you balance, what you let in, what you don't let in. Do you let yourself have this after dark, or this, too early in the morning. Like, you're really just drawing lines about to be a better partner to yourself, to think about what you need. And I always say to my clients when they're in this transit, like something right on the house cusp of the 7th, the descendant, I always say, hey, it's time to step back, observe yourself, and see what you see. Really see that picture. And that works for you too. Now, the Earth in Leo actually means that you're going to manifest a new you. So I expect Leos and Leo risings to have a bit of a makeover. You're going to realize that the character you've been is not maybe completely authentic and with yourself and in alignment with yourself. So you're going to let go of an old character, hopefully gently, right, with no mirrors around. And you're going to start to embrace a new character by the time you have a birthday. So your next birthday. So you're really going to be someone new this year when it comes to your birthday. And I think you're feeling it now. Now, Uranus is saying, hey, it's time for a career to go forward now. It's time to move forward, take your career higher. Time to take risk with your career. Time to take leadership to the next level and just become better at what you do as a leader and as a professional. Uranus is there to help you grow, but if you go the wrong way or you pass go without collecting $200, could be a smackdown, okay? So be careful about that. That's a possibility. The final thing with Leo is Jupiter at 11. Jupiter 11 says is that Leos are finally getting comfortable in society. They're finally coming to an alignment in society where they're finding their place. I think, there's a time when you want to be worshipped and adored all the time, for no reason, and you've grown a lot since then, right? You've grown a lot since the invention of the selfie. So, Leos are going to now find a new way of being in public and not let them down, but also not let the people down that they are hanging out with. All right, here we go. Virgos, it's interesting. It's really funny to me when I think about this because Aquarius for Virgos is the 6th house. And, if you would have told me 20 years ago when I started that Virgos were going to be the New Agers, I would have been like, what? It makes no sense. But it looks like Virgos are going to pave the way. You're going to be the first one to go down the crystal slide. You're going to be the first one, to take the weird medicine. You're going to be the first one to try the crystal chamber caves. I think you're going to be the ones to really go for it and bring this wacky world of Aquarius into our lives. What it means for Virgos personally, besides the wacky, is that your birthday gets a little gift. So I hope you're having a good birthday in that sense this year, because I think if you step into this and you are a leader in Aquarius and the Aquarius vibration, you'll probably start to discover new healing capabilities, is what I'm thinking. And I think Virgos are going to be part of the cutting edge of healing because they're loving themselves in the moment and they're living that love in the moment. So move forward now to change that life, to start that diet, to go forward with changing your reality. Now the Earth in Leo says, hey, when you go forward and make your life better, guess what? You have great faith. Your fears dry up like puddles, and you begin to law of attract, ascended masters, and other energies that will help you. So, you are the Earth sign, you are the reality sign, and so a lot of you are like, I don't believe in that angel stuff. We'll see. Like I said the same thing, and you're a Virgo, but you are coming into a new, greater faith, and it harbors around love. It can't be easier than that. Now, Uranus direct says it's time for your purpose to move forward. You have, wasted enough time. You've done enough experiments. You've tasted enough samples. You're ready to go forward now and make it happen, right? And this is basically a life transformation. This is a way of getting around all of your comfort zones and just going for it. It also means that, you'll be triggered and you most likely will have to face some sort of a weird thing that you don't want to face, okay, or an intimacy situation that you don't want to face, but go forward, take it higher, give it a try. Uranus is by your side. And then finally, Jupiter 11, that's your degree, by the way, 11, says that, hey, Jupiter 11 Gemini, if your mind is thinking about you when you make that decision, and then the world, if your mind is thinking about your benefit and then the world, instead of being a world healer first, your integrity has to be first in anything you step out and do. I think Jupiter's going to help you make abundance and set the tone for a crazy career possibility if you just step forward and honor that self-love in your mind, particularly for careers. All right. Libras, I'm interested in this. You have now, with this new moon in Aquarius, you are being told to love yourself actively, to actively love yourself. do something loving for yourself. And by the way, this is the first 9 in the chart. So this is the 9 that is personal and sort of self-centered. So, chances are, it's going to take you to, it's going to feel weird because you aren't that usually. But you don't have to be, selfish to be self-centered. And so I think Libras are really in a place to have their personal dreams come true if they just love themselves the way they love others. So simple, but true. Now, as you love yourself like you love others, the Earth in Leo is saying, hey, your potential in the world just gets better. The more you love yourself, the more you do, the better you do. So literally, if you ran for office, I would just love yourself and hug yourself, love yourself and hug yourself. It's going to help you, that self-love, to find that vibration. It's almost like flying manually as a bird to get there. Now, when it comes to Uranus, it is time now to take it higher. When it comes to where your boundaries are, it's time to move over, get comfortable with being uncomfortable, be willing to get wet, be willing to get messy, be willing to have your life look like a mess for a moment. You have got to innovate your personal boundaries and go higher than you're usually comfortable. I think usually Libras sort of keep it cool. They don't want to rock the boat. And so as a result, they don't change enough, okay? Because you're trying to stay too steady. So the planets are saying, hey, go ahead and make it messy. Go ahead and transform your life. It's a good thing. And I think you're going to find that indeed it is a good thing. And Libra also, the Jupiter in Gemini says, you've got to stand in your beliefs now. If you believe, then don't waver. If you believe, then apply it to everything else. If you believe and you feel it, you got to own it, okay? And, again, this is interesting because Libras tend to have the other person's opinion and go with what the other person wants for dinner. And Jupiter here is saying, no, it's you. Go for what you want. Do what you want. Stand in your heart and ultimately just follow what you believe the way it should be. You don't have to have proof or books or a degree. All right. Scorpios. Scorpios, this is a good thing. This new moon is you stepping into feeling good about yourself. That's it. I mean, feeling good for no reason, right? And Scorpios typically feel fine. They feel fine. They feel fine. And then boom, they fall to the floor, so to speak, and they are drowning in emotion because you put it off and then the well got deep. What this is saying is like, it's time now for, you to be able to tread water in your own feelings, for you to be able to just keep going and not worry about it, for you to know that you can just get out of anything emotionally that you fall into. So I think you're building confidence that you can do it no matter what. I think you're building integrity about how you do it, okay? So it's time now to just come out and make it happen. Make yourself feel better. Give yourself the tissue, for the issue. Go get yourself the playpen, whatever it is, baby yourself and make those feelings feel like someone cares. And I think that's important. I think that Scorpios take it very personally when people don't care. And it's because you haven't cared. You've been cold, Aquarius, to your 4th house. You haven't cared. And so when someone else is like that, you're pissed. It's like, it's okay for you to be that way, but it's not okay for someone else to be that way. So it's interesting how that happens. But as a result of caring about your feelings, your career just starts popping. So it turns out that the water you needed to make yourself grow was literally a water sign. It was emotion. You need to be nurtured and feel good and feel grounded. And that's when the shift hits the fan, right? So I'm predicting great success for the Scorpios who take care of themselves. Uranus direct says, hey, your life partnership is going to go higher. And that means that there's more to relationships than meets the eye. So you think it's this, but Uranus is like, nope, it's actually this. So you have this interesting possibility to have that sort of opportunity. Then, when it comes to that marriage and performance and the ability to move forward in partnerships, then we go to Jupiter in Gemini and we see a lot of whys because Jupiter in Gemini says, hey, it's time to come into integrity with self-trust. It's time to come into integrity with where the lines are. It's time to come into integrity according to your heart when it comes to this stuff. And I think the two go hand in hand, that, your lifestyle and your partnership and your like when I say lifestyle, I mean your lifestyle as being married or partnered will blossom if you just hold true to your self-trust. I mean, I can't help but think that when a Scorpio accuses you of cheating or stealing, that they themselves are recognizing that vibration because they bet it, right? So, and this is what it is. So to get, for your relationships to go up, you're gonna have to redefine your boundaries And for a lot of Scorpios, that means letting people in. All right. Excellent. Sagittarius. Sagittarius, you are now... Aquarius for you is in this part with the new moon is like talking differently to yourself. That's the best way to put it. The way you talk to yourself is just not good, says the planets. You're learning how to be nicer to yourself, Sag. You're learning how to maybe not ignore yourself, answer your own questions. You're sort of going, you're being basically encouraged to like be more Gemini-like. Like talk more to yourself, right? So you're being called to develop a better attitude with yourself, and that will turn into a greater attitude in the world, which you will love because you like to go traveling and meeting people and doing fun things. As you are now raising your self-worth and you are changing your attitude inside yourself and the words you use inside yourself, what happens is that your potential for career starts to really blossom. So by thinking, you're literally the sign that says think positively. Not every sign is wired for think positively and it works, but you are, okay? So moving forward with those positive thoughts means that your potential in career just goes off the hook. And then, of course, your career goes off the hook, right? Then you go into the next part of this, which is lifestyle. The universe is saying, hey, it's time for Sagittarius' lifestyle to go to the next level. You know, Sagittarius are the one people that I know that can like live off pork and beans, you know what I mean? And like deal with anything that they encounter and be okay with it. And the universe is saying, you know, that was cool for a while, but go out and make a good life now. You've seen the world. Don't you want to bring back those treasures and do stuff for yourself? So I am seeing a shift in that for y'all. Now, by going forward and innovating your daily life, making it better, higher vibration, more joyful, it begs the question about self-love. Jupiter at 11, Gemini says, hey, you know, you've got to love yourself more, even more. It's your ruling planet, of course, Jupiter, on your 7th house. So it can't get more literal than that. You're being told you have to treat yourself better. You have to be me-read to a better person, right? No exception. And this has to be the rule, period. So this is hard for you to be on your own side because you like to be on other people's sides to sort of win their affection and their friendship. And so now it's saying, no, put yourself first and see what happens. So we'll have to see. It'll be interesting. Capricorns. Oh, Cappies. Are you feeling good? Now you got, you're out of your birthday period. Now you got the sun in your 2nd house. And what this means is that you're now stepping into a new self-worth. And I think for Capricorns, this self-worth is not based on money, not based on material, not based on success. And that's huge. That's huge if you're Bernie Sanders, you know, for this moment. So I think you've all moved into a real savvy place where you are kind of becoming captivating. You're kind of fun to watch now. You're cleaned out. And, you know, this new stepping forward is that you feel good about yourself before anything happens. So it's like, I think the biggest change for Capricorns is you're giving yourself credit, advanced credit. Whereas before you made yourself prove it to yourself and then you went around the world bragging, right? Now, the Earth in Leo says, hey, as you love yourself and love yourself more, you're going to actually really start to trust yourself. As your self-worth goes up, you are more daring. So it's kind of funny. The more you trust yourself, the more money you'll have for gambling, right? So by being there for yourself and owning it, you're going to find that you trust, that you can change, and you're probably a little randy. Now, Uranus going direct says, hey, it's now time for you to go for your dreams and go for your serious joy. It's really funny that Capricorns didn't have serious joy transit until after they went for their dreams, so that's interesting. And what it means for you, sir, is that you have imparted to me one of these wacky statues that you collect. So I'm in the club now, kid. But for most Capricorns, who I can't talk about right now, you know, Gemini for you is your health and your body. So you are being encouraged to stay in integrity with your health, stay in integrity with your moment. Make sure your moment is not wackadoodle just because the code is or isn't. You know, how many times we run out without our code. So, you know, move forward with the health, the literals, but remember that health is also the vibe. Your body doesn't want to be in stress. Your body doesn't want, your mind doesn't want to live in the future all the time. You certainly don't want to live in the past. So I think this has a lot to do with what Capricorns are thinking about in the moment when they're out there vibing. And what is that mindset? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it one of each? And I'll say for most Capricorns, I know it's one of each. Part of you is positive, part of you is negative. It all works out. So if that works for you, but that wastes a lot of energy. Pisces. Oh, is that right? No, that should be Aquarius. Aquarius! Sorry about that. Aquarius, oh my God, happy birthday to you, first of all, and happy makeover to y'all. I'm excited for the Aquas. I've seen nothing but good from Pluto going into your sign. It's like you just needed a weapon to really come in your power, and that's Pluto. You are ultimately innovating your, in this moment, you are innovating your character and self-treatment. Your character. It's like it's time now to put your character out there, to put it on, put it on the ledge, to go and invest in your character. It's time to take action for yourself. You never have. I think in some cases for Aquarius, you're going to receive. You're going to actually, I put my hand out and you'll give. If I give you something, you'll actually take it. Aquarius used to ghost when that happens, out of fear of what was in there. So I'm seeing you come around, and it comes from practicing what you preach, putting action into your theories, putting your theories into action. That's really what it comes down to. So I think you are doing that in a beautiful way from what I've seen, and I think this new moon is boosting it. The Earth in Leo is saying, hey, as you put your new action into practice, you manifest this greater love affair with you. So this is really the me-topia, okay? Aquas and Aqua Risings are manifesting me-topias more than anyone I know. They're just celebrating who they are and their environment, how cool it is, and how, there's purple lights and all this sort of thing. I just see you constantly celebrating, and it's a good thing. Now, this leads to marriage and partnership, by the way, by celebrating who you are, and it leads to the right person, too. So if you are wanting someone, you want to be close, Aquarius, then treat yourself like you want to be treated in that marriage. Now, when it comes to innovation, you are being encouraged to innovate your emotional foundation. So you need a bigger waterbed. You need more cushions. You need more thread count. You need more emotional nurturing. You have to take it to a higher level. And this is your ruling planet after all. So your ruling planet is, the third decan of some street that I passed here. But basically, you are, ultimately have to be more caring, because you're probably going to go high vibration, even higher than us, and it's going to be sensitive. It's going to be difficult, and you're going to need a lot of pampering because you're going to be way above us and not around. So, you need the nurturing because of where you're going more than like damage from childhood. And then, of course, Jupiter at 11 says, it's time now to love yourself 100%. Unconditionally, your inner child needs to be loved. It needs to be cherished and adored. You ultimately need to, prove yourself wrong, that love is not too sticky, and go ahead and get gooey and icky like your opposite signs, Leo. Go ahead and be that way. I think the more you sort of pig out on loving yourself, the greater you're going to be. And you can do it alone. You have to do it with people. You just love yourself privately. And I think this also is giving yourself the things that you want and giving yourself the freedom to do it. That's another one for Aquas. One that they usually give themselves without a question. And then lastly, but never leastly, the Pisces. This is funny because you would think Pisces were super spiritual, right? No, not so much anymore right now, because all the spirituality has been sort of held back by karma. You haven't had a chance to get high close to God. You've been so busy dealing with your karma and your shadow boxing and addiction and all these other types of things. So Pisces are just now raising the vibe of their God connection. But I think in that sense, you're going to actually bridge the vibe. I think you're going to create the vibe. I think you're going to take us into the right vibe. You're going to show us what we need to do, show us what the church was trying to show us, or maybe even not trying to show us. So you're going to be the first to go through that cave, my friend, the first to actually step into that vibration of higher frequency. And it will happen this year, right around the corner, kickstarted by this new moon. Now, the Earth in Leo says, as you are stepping into the vibe and you're stepping into this new faith, you'll also be manifesting a new reality. Pisces are meant to be walking bubbles of love, okay? Love rules your sixth house. You're meant to be smiling all the time. You're meant to be peaceful. You're meant to be childlike. This is who you are. You have Leo basically going on in this space. So you are, basically going to perform. You're basically going to be in a place where you can live in your body and, only digest the sun and water. I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting potential when you have love Leo in the sixth house. Now, the innovation has to be, Pisces, your thinking, okay? Your mind and your thinking. You're very creative, Pisces, and they want to manifest things, and you build great structures, but I think you sort of stay stuck in certain designs. So the universe is saying, go out there, whack out there, take risks that no one else would take. And especially in this ending of the age of Pisces, we want to build the palaces that represent our wisdom. So you had a full green light now to go build or to go plan to build. And then lastly, Gemini for you, Jupiter and Gemini. You are learning to emotionally nurture yourself like you never have before. Stay in emotional nurturing, honor emotional nurturing, be mindful of your nurturing. Do I need to say any more? The more you self-nurture, the more all these centers opens up. And I think Jupiter at 11 for an entire month is going to force Pisces to nag Pisces, basically, be on Pisces' back, to constantly be focusing on your emotions. Because remember, 11 is Virgo, which is the opposite of Pisces. So I think Pisces are going to kind of feel nagged by the universe. But once you've been, had a couple babas, and you really feel nurtured, I think you're going to find yourself more spiritual and a better place for love and joy. Amen. All right, friends, that is all we have right now. But we have an amazing astrologer coming on. And now that I'm doing all this shop talking, I cannot wait to talk to her. Keep streaming. We're going to take a little intermission here. When I come back, I've got a special guest for you from Australia. Keep streaming. This Zodiac weather is from Saturday, January 25th to Friday, January 31st, 2025. Looking ahead at the weekend forecast, after a bumpy up and down week of Aquarius, trying to find where you belong with yourself, the weekend proves to be calm and clear. Let's drill down. On Saturday, it's sunny and enthusiastic. Step 5 means that Mercury rules the day. This is a day where you'll be in your mind, good communication, and you're starting to be mindful of a new narrative. With the moon in Sagittarius, you're feeling the story as it was and as it's becoming. And with Venus trining Mars, you're opening up to new behavior about emotion. On Sunday, it's sunny and spectacular. Step 6 means Venus rules the day. It's an easy breezy, creative, resting and receiving day. You'll come to the terms that you belong in harmony and peace, and you'll use grace under any pressure. The moon will shift from Sagittarius to Capricorn, so things might get sharper by the second half of the day. But Mercury sextiling Neptune brings a lot of imagination, and Venus sextiling Uranus brings a lot of innovation. All in all, it's a day of creative problem solving and some good learning. Then looking at the 5-day weekday forecast, over the course of the week, we are building to a new moon and a new you on Hump Day, Wednesday. Let's take a look. On Monday, it's sunny and clear. Step 7 means Neptune rules the day. Expect a day of strong psychic abilities and intuition. You're calculating your long-term strategy and sensing what may come next. The moon in Capricorn allows you to make quick decisions based on your feelings. With Mercury having sextiled the North Node overnight, you wake up wondering what the right direction might be. But later, that evening, Mercury enters into Aquarius and your mind takes it to new dimensions. On Tuesday, it's sunny and sharp. Step 8 indicates Saturn rules the day. It's time to take control of your life and make some big decisions. You belong confident and you're feeling the new ego within yourself. And by the end of the day, the moon shifts into Aquarius on countdown for the new moon. On Wednesday, it's sunny and invigorating. Step 9 means Mars retrograde rules the day. You'll have energy, but it may be a bit passive-aggressive. It's time to belong, elevating your life, and you're feeling a new era birthing within you. It is also the new moon in Aquarius at Step 9, and with Mercury conjoining Pluto, you're going to let go of some old bad thoughts, and your mind is erased with the old patterns. And Pal's trining Uranus means it's time to make precious innovation. On Thursday, it's sunny and electric. Step 10 means that the Earth rules the day, a day for abundance, growth, and growing prosperity. You'll realize you belong producing in your life and ready to innovate manifestations that you already have. Uranus will station direct, meaning it's time to grow. And when the Sun trines Jupiter, good ideas flow through your heart and into your life. And then on Friday, it's sunny and buzzing. Step 11 means Chiron rules the day. This is a day where you'll realize you belong united, yourself and into the world. From integrity to beyond is your theme, and with the moon in Pisces, you're feeling that your karma and your history is changing. Hello and welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented light workers and the innovative influencers of our time. There's nothing I enjoy more than hanging out with another astrologer and talking planet shop. Tonight we're blessed to have some time with one of Australia's biggest and brightest. Natasha Weber, also known as AstroTash, is Australia's leading media astrologer with over 20 years of experience in the field. She's a professor, member of the Australian Academy of Astrology and Cosmobiology, and a member of the American Federation of Astrologers and the Federation of Australian Astrologers. Natasha is also the proud recipient of the prestigious AAAC Diploma, awarded for her significant contributions to astrological research. She's gained a huge following thanks to her role as a resident astrologer for Australia's #1 morning television program, The Morning Show, and writing horoscopes for Marie Claire and Mamma Mia. But last but not least, she is the author of Your Celestial Compass, which offers a transformative approach to self-discovery through astrology. Please send waves of love and light tonight to our guest, Natasha, the astrologer. Sorry, I lost your last name, Natasha. Oh my God. Yay! Sorry. Natasha Weber, sorry. Is Natasha here? There she is. I hear her. Hi, Natasha. I'm sorry. I just joked my script there. Thank you for coming on tonight. It's such a pleasure.
It's such a pleasure to be here and to connect with you, Christopher, and to watch a little bit of your work just there. Very impressive.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm not on network TV like yourself, so very impressive that you made it onto TV like that. I mean, I think that's quite a barrier, honestly.
It absolutely is for us astrologers, right? It's that that combination of media astrology and the more academic astrology, and that's where I've actually trained in. And so to bring it to the media and to a wider platform is such a privilege, because we get to share our insights, and we get to be a mouthpiece for astrology by taking it to a wider platform. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're a pioneer in that sense, right? I mean, because you're normalizing it, you're making it accessible, you're ending taboo, right? And also religious dogma, right? I mean, how can you explain how did that happen as far as, television wanting it, for instance? It wasn't strictly ratings, it was a risk, right?
Look, absolutely. I have been doing this in slow steps. I studied and was part of a senior research group at the AAAC, the Australian Academy of Astrology and Cosmobiology, for 15 years before I really took it out to the people. And I remember that moment when I did that. It was, I opened a little Instagram account. And I remember the first 4 followers I had, I was feeling quite exposed. I have a sun in the 6th house and some Virgo energy with the South Node, so I can be highly critical. So it did take me that 15 years to get it out there into the world. But then when I did, it was a slow stepping stone over many years where I started off really doing more writing than anything else. I started as the horoscope columnist for Body and Soul, and that just happened serendipitously. I actually had a client who I did a reading for, who was sent to me by his girlfriend reluctantly. And it was a funny story, because as soon as he walked in the door, I thought, oh dear, I've got my work cut out for me. And I was just beginning with readings and charting for them at that stage. So I remember doing this reading for him and going pretty deep, because he had an intense chart and a lot going on, and he was very silent. And then so I turned to him and I said, is any of this resonating with you? And he actually broke down into tears, and it was a real breakthrough moment for him. So anyway, I ended up going back to that client and asking him to write a little testimonial for the website that I was about to launch to put my business out in the world. And he said to me, you know what, you should write an article. He was a journalist. And I said, oh no, I can't write. I couldn't possibly write. I couldn't do that. And he gave me the encouragement and made an introduction into the Australian media with Body and Soul. And that's where it really started. So I started with Body and Soul. I went to news.com.au, which is Australia's largest news online platform, and I became their resident astrologer for a while. And then I was asked to do a podcast for iHeartRadio here in Australia. So I had my own show, and I loved doing that. I was really heartbroken when it was pulled. Like anything, it's transient and things come and they go. But I knew that I could see that in my stars that there was something else in the wings. And so, and there was, because that podcast was the stepping stone to the morning show, because I was asked to chat about the podcast on the show, and then they continue to ask me back a few times. And my executive producer is a massive fan of astrology, pioneer in her own right, a gorgeous Leo. And so they offered me a regular spot, but there's an interesting full circle moment actually that's connected with that also. But I feel like I'm rambling in a typical
You just hooked me. No, you're a Gemini. Of course you could write. I have to say that. Like, third decade, even way high up there. Probably, naturally brilliant at it. But I think people who are brilliant are questioning their brilliance all the time. I find that's why they're so good. Is they're constantly questioning and polishing, right? So what was the hook? What's the, what was the full circle? We got to know.
Okay. So this kind of relates to how I got into astrology in the first place.
Okay.
So what happened was I was at a crossroad in my life. I had been a professional ballerina, and I'd also dabbled in modeling, and I'd been overseas for many years. So this is very much, working with the physical body in dance. Your body is your instrument, and certainly with modeling, it's very much about, what's on the outside. And I had my first child, and I just had this epiphany that I had to do something with my brain, and I felt called to study. But the thing was, I just knew I had to pursue something that I felt passionately about. I've got a Leo moon and a Sag rising, so it had to spark that fire within. And I was really, really torn. I did not know what that was. I was tossing up between three different things: naturopathy, psychology, and astrology. But the trouble in Australia is astrology is not really supported very well as a study program. So it was difficult to find somewhere reputable. And given that my son is in the 6th house, I was never just going to read a book and then start spruiking my ideas. I really wanted some sort of formal training. Anyway, I was praying to the universe, like quite literally. And then I was called to do a job at Channel 10 for a different reason. And on the way there, I picked up 3 books on each subject, prayed again so hard, please give me a sign. I just need a sign which direction to go down, which path I should choose. And at Channel 10, I was talking about this to the other girls that were there, about to do our little segment. And one of the girls said, you should talk to Karen Morgold. Now, in America, you wouldn't know of Karen Morgold necessarily, but in Australia, she was really huge. She had a 40-year career in television, and she was the resident astrologer for this program that I was also going to have a little spot on for that day. So anyway, long story short, I ended up bumping into her, and she rang me the next day, and she put me onto someone who then put me onto my school. And then from there, it took me 15 years to come out with the astrology. But the full circle moment, what I am getting to, I promise, is that when the morning show offered me the position, I was actually stepping into Karen Morgold's shoes. It was her previous role, and no one had since taken that over. And that was 24 years down the track from the moment I had met her until that moment that I was offered that role. So I feel, an incredible connection to Karen, and that's just got to make you believe in the serendipity and how astrology works with all of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you were starting out as an astrologer, it's that serendipity that proves that you just, you can't write this stuff. You can't imagine it. The things that happen, they prove to yourself. And I always tell people, don't take my word for it. Just try it and see for yourself. You'll be aghast at how accurate it is in certain ways, and the way it reveals to you its accuracy in its own way, according to your own being too. So, and even for us astrologers, we're constantly getting those, right?
I absolutely agree with that. And when people, I confront a lot of skeptics, or if the skeptics confront me, I should say.
Oh, do they? Do you track them still?
Oh, absolutely. Given that I am a media astrologer and out there in that wide platform, it definitely attracts a lot of skeptics. And these are people guaranteed, these are people that haven't actually looked into astrology. They don't understand that there is so much more to the sun sign. So, we're gentle with these people, but they have has been some aggressive commentary on not so much my work directly, but bringing astrology out into the mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like
But I agree with you, Christopher. And I always say to them, astrology, I can't prove it to you with tangible measurements. But what I will say is that it's an observational science.
Yeah, absolutely. Observational and very, very personal too at that. I mean, it strikes you home, like the gentleman that started crying you're talking about. It can be so personal at times. It's just undeniable in that sense. How did you, so when you started off with doing astrology, you were talking about, I think you said, you mentioned you were a little nervous in the beginning when you give readings. And did you find yourself like over studying and over analyzing as a Gemini, trying to memorize every fact? And did you make a leap to where you surrendered to something, like a surrender to a voice, or, do you channel when you do readings?
No, I don't. I try not to. In fact, when I first started, I made a very conscious effort not to do that. I understand you're a psychic astrologer though, Christopher. You do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's wonderful to combine those two gifts. I did make a conscious decision not to do that because I felt very passionately that astrology could stand for itself. And I wanted to come across as more of a scientific astrologer in the beginning. That said, it just has started happening. I mean, we are all intuitive beings. We all have psychic abilities. And certainly part of my initial interest in astrology in the first place has come through my mother and my grandmother, who are both clairvoyants.
Wow.
They do writing. So this has been just a part of my life. So I absolutely embrace that is valid and certainly has a place. But the universe has just said to me, we're going to give you a little sign when something that you're saying to a client specifically is right, spot on. And then I get a sign, I get a physical feeling. I get the hairs all sort of standing on end, and that's just started to happen recently. And I guess I've just surrendered to that because, oh, well, that's just obviously meant to happen.
Yeah, and I know I'm bringing up is for people at home, to trust those vibes, because there's a lot of inner applause. I went back and forth. I came with books. I mean, I would print out and type reports for the clients and write them, read them meticulously, kind of, which was not a fun reading actually. But then there came this point where this voice took over, and I felt more comfortable in that voice, and so I let it speak, and that's what I was wondering. No, I'm curious what you think. Can we talk shop for a minute?
Let's.
So what? But I like that you come from such a scientific and mathematical approach, because I have a mathematical approach too with the degrees. That's very adds the degrees up. It's a literal addition. It adds to something. What is your take on this moment with Pluto and Aquarius?
Oh, that's an enormous question. I think, I mean, it's basically going to transform society, transform humanity as we know it. And it's going to be that slow, gradual process. But I believe we're absolutely in the age of Aquarius.
You do? You think we're there? Yeah.
I do believe we're there. But that said, it's almost like we're still stepping over into the threshold. We're on that threshold. And we are seeing a lot of Capricorn energy still trying desperately to cling on to the structure. The conservatives are trying to cling on. This is very much Capricorn energy, is very much about the government as well. And so we're seeing this kind of tug of war between, government control and the people. And in Australia, there has been a lot of protesting, a lot of that Aquarian energy, power to the people versus power over the people. So in terms of Pluto in Aquarius, we're starting to see this now come into play. But for me, I think this is very much about the whistleblowers, potentially big cover-ups being exposed. And I think, in America, your President Trump, he's just reopening case files on certain assassinations. Yeah. And so the information that's going to kind of flood in with that, I think, is going to be very game-changing. I think this type of thing. I mean, I'm also going to go out on a limb here and say that we might even encounter alien life forms. Certainly that conversation is going to be opened up with Pluto's move into Aquarius, because this is all about, the futuristic stuff. This is what Aquarius represents. I think also going back to information, it's going to completely change our social media landscape, and that's already happening, right? Because Pluto is spending its first full year in Aquarius this year since 1779.
Yes.
So it's really heating up, and I know that Meta have changed a lot in terms of how they're displaying the grid on their platform. There are lots of different changes happening, and people are uncomfortable with this. This is going to be an uncomfortable year because of this, and certainly because of other factors that are happening as well. But yes, and the technology, and also I think that we're going to see a lot of discussion around climate change and around environmental solutions. This, I believe, is coming from another planetary transit with Neptune in 29 degrees of Pisces. Placement is the fixed star of Skeet. Do you call it Skeet or Shiat?
Skeet. Yeah.
Skeet.
I mean,
Okay. Yes.
I don't use a lot of fixed stars. Do you incorporate a lot of fixed stars and find them helpful?
I love the fixed stars. I don't know. I'm not really familiar and work with all of them, but I particularly
there's billions.
there's so many. There's so many, right? But I noticed that if they're really like bang on a degree in a chart, the influence is there. And I have Rigel and Regulus and Skeet actually in my personal chart. So my sun is on Rigel and my midheaven is on Regulus. So for those people that don't know, the midheaven is the 10th house cusp, and it speaks of your career, your vocation, what you want to do at your highest potential. And the fixed star of Regulus, it's a good one to have on the midheaven.
It
Right?
is the king of kings. Now, have you had any kind of insight, and you don't have to come out on television if you can't right now, but like about your own galactic history? Do you feel, for instance, like that's a strong conjunction to Regulus, right? So I wonder, do you ever feel like, there could be cousins up there or something like that, to the effect that there's a human, galactic connection in some? I'm talking about ancient incarnation, but to Regulus, you think you could have been from that system, for instance?
Oh, I see. Look, highly likely. I think I've probably had a lot of past lives, and I've probably come back a lot of times to try and get it right.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I do believe in that. I do believe that the chart can show us our past life experiences. Certainly with the moon's nodes, I think that the south node can particularly speak to our past life experiences and the gifts from those past lives that we bring into this life. I know a lot of astrologers feel that we're working towards the qualities of our north node sign, and we have to actively reject the qualities of our south node sign. But I feel a bit differently about that.
Me too.
Do you?
I'm on your team. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're here for a reason, and I think astrology is just not as black and white as that. And we can bring those gifts in and use them. I just don't think that the south node qualities are areas that we really need to put a lot of focus into. The focus goes towards the north node.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I've benefited from my south node. That's part of the reason why I'm on the air, on the internet, is because my south node's in Cancer in the 11th, and so that's that teddy bear kind, softy is a lot of the reason why I think I do well. So it's a part of, I think it's a talent, overused, and I need to move away from it. You know what I mean? Like, kind of thing. And the North Node needs to, be the act. I personally have always felt like the North Node is what you must do in order to achieve the midheaven. What you must apply. Like, to me, it's like applying the brake or applying this, that you have to apply the North Node to succeed, but it isn't where, I don't believe it's where all the success is.
Yeah, I love that. I love that perspective. Yes, and we can use all of the factors in our chart to reach our highest potential overall. But I just want to say that South Node in Cancer, maybe you sacrificed your career and your personal success for family in a past life. And so that's why you feel so driven to work towards that boss energy of the Capricorn North Node.
Oh, yeah, the boss. Yeah, I guess that's true. And it's true. And in this lifetime, my family is still saying, you're overambitious. You come home, like, it's just like, it's a constant. It's amazing how accurate that is in that sense. Yeah. and my mom's a Cancer, so
Right.
and she
Yeah.
conjuncts it, like, so
Oh, so past life connection there.
yeah, oh yeah, oh God, yes, oh God, yes. We've been here before,
Yeah.
many times. And
Yeah.
what other? I find Black Moon Lilith. Do you work with the Liliths?
Yes, I've looked at the Black Moon Lilith. I have the Black Moon up with the midheaven as well. So I feel like
Mm,
that's very much the goddess archetype, but not just all pretty and fluffy. It's about tapping into that raw energy, that divine feminine energy that
yeah,
many women feel ashamed to express because it's
yeah,
not feminine enough, it's not attractive enough, and if you
mm,
behave in that manner, other people might perceive you as ugly or masculine or
mm,
wrong. So perhaps I'm teaching other people through my work to embrace that side of themselves and certainly to look at that part of themselves. Mm.
Well, you got it right this time.
Mm.
Like I would think that you had been burned, in the last the last time you tried this kind of thing. It'd be my first impression of that on the midheaven. Like this ain't your first rodeo.
That is so fascinating that you would say that, and that's given me goosebumps because in my work, in my media work, I was invited to write daily horoscopes for Channel 7 News. This was an enormous platform. It's the number one news program in Australia, mainstream, on the prime time channel.
Mm,
And
wow.
it's since been pulled, but here again we have the Capricorn Corporation, the Conservatives saying no, 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 we're not having
Yeah.
horoscopes on our primetime news. This is not serious journalism.
Right.
Whereas the horoscopes on the news, that's so Aquarian, right? So the battle between the Capricorn and the Aquarius. But
Hmm.
what I want to say is I really felt like I was an advocate for astrology and for putting it out there in that way. And it did attract a lot of criticism,
Mm.
and it was quite brutal.
Oh,
And but I felt like I was making a stand for all those witches burnt at the stake,
yeah.
back in ancient times, and
Yeah.
all of those people working with medicinal herbs and connected to the cosmos and
Mm.
to the spirit world, who were perceived in that way and persecuted.
Yeah. Or
So
burned. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. And what's interesting is I mean, in my research, uh, if the client had a past life where they were burned to the stake, they reenact an kind of similar version in this life, only they overcome it. And that's the fate, that's the karma that they have to relive and overcome this time. That Black Moon Lilith I found. So to me, Black Moon Lilith is very past life, as far as
right,
it really reveals where you have been, in hell, kind of thing. And I've
yeah,
followed Black Moon Lilith transits, and I mean it's just fear out of nowhere. I mean, it comes up and just haunted me. When I was fine prior to the conjunction is the most intense I ever had. The most intense fear I've ever had in my life was a Black Moon Lilith return, the most.
all
It's just,
right, yeah,
yeah, it was really difficult. And I think it's because there's a lot of fear in the subconscious that was coming up. It's irrational fear. It's way irrational the amount of fear you have, or I had anyways. Maybe it's just me, but
yeah.
um,
No, I completely agree. And the fact that it's coming up not just from the subconscious, but even deeper than that in the past life.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
totally,
yeah.
yeah. It's tough, but we're past that. What about Chiron? I mean, I don't want to get too, but our audience loves this stuff. Chiron to me is so. I didn't even study Chiron when I first started doing astrology. Do you use Chiron in your chart?
Yes, all the time.
Mm,
I love Chiron. It shows the wound. It shows where we might feel a sting in life, depending on
mm,
its sign and certainly its placement according to the
mm,
house in the birth
yeah.
chart. And I have Chiron in the fifth. And
Mm,
so you can
tough.
imagine
That's tough.
the heartbreak over the love
Mm,
affairs and also with the children. And I
mm,
can share that I have lost a child in my
mm.
life. So
Wow.
this, was obviously an incredibly deeply wounding experience.
Mm,
But then on the flip side, and the beauty of Chiron is that there is always a flip side. There is always the healing that follows the wounding.
yeah.
And I think that this is really heightened around the age of 50, 51, because this is when we get the Chiron return. So I have experienced that return. And there was a lot of strength and resilience in the healing process of that. And for that, I'm very, very grateful.
I had my Chiron return was so intense. I was knocked off the air for 9 months, and completely went through a horrible period. I mean, and what was interesting is I now believe that's what I'm asking about it, because I just recently went through it. I'm 51, be 52, this year. So I just came through it, and I'm come to believe that the whole reason we're here for the first 50 years is Chiron. Because
Right.
once I came through it, I realized I have been worrying about this Chiron thing my entire life. I hadn't noticed it. I hadn't realized that was the culprit, and so now I just have a different, respect for it. Certainly a past life planet, which is why I brought it up. We're talking about, past life planets clearly, and I think Chiron represents where you've been hurt again and again and again. I don't feel like it was just one time that I'm healing. My soul has done that many times, kind of thing. Yeah. So it's
Yeah, that's so interesting. Thanks for sharing that too. I completely resonate with the Chiron journey, but I think you're right. It's a process and it's a lead up. It's almost like a volcano ready to explode, but we feel it brewing up to our 50th year, 51, whenever that point occurs, but probably the year before and the year after as well.
The square, I think, is 37, 38.
Yeah.
And I remember, shift hitting the fan then, like a lot of turbulence turning that corner. That square was tough. So you can really see, when you're dealing with Chiron issues, I find,
Yes.
And
especially in that square, that approaching square. Absolutely. That's
totally.
Almost like a little mini return, a little introduction.
Totally. And I think at that time too, for those who are watching, it's like things were fine until that happened. Like, I think you're sort of in your naive 30s and you're just like, yeah, I'm amazing. And then it's like, nope, you've actually got karma, and that's when karma really started to unfold for me. Are you a person who has any kind of, do you have psychic flashes, or do you have visions that come to you in that way, like past life visions?
Not so much past life visions. I certainly have my own experience with, some psychic flashes, I guess you can call it. Throughout my lifetime, I've had some experiences. I knew when my grandfather was going to pass. I was about 13 years old. He came to me. I saw him dressed exactly as he was buried, and I did not see him in that way before that dream. I definitely I speak to God. I speak to my angels pretty much on a daily basis. I also believe that I don't chase it, and I believe that we have to be very mindful when we dabble in what's beyond the veil, because we're opening our channels, our meridians up to energies that we may not necessarily, it may not necessarily be the thing that we should be doing. And this is why I love astrology, because there's definitely a place for psychic readings, and I've had a few myself when I felt the need for some more certainty, because as we know, astrology is a tool. We can use it to help make our own decisions, and I feel really passionately about that. So that's where it is so empowering, because we're given the cosmic climate to work with. Rather than someone sitting there saying, this is going to happen, that's going to happen to you. And that's completely disempowering, unless you really need that certainty. And there are certainly times in your life when that happens. But so if I go into a psychic reading, I always pray to my angels before that happens. And I just say, share with me what I need to know, what's going to help and empower my journey and support me. And anything I don't need to know, that's okay. I'll figure it out for myself, because that is really part of the journey, isn't it? That's why we're here. That's why we're experiencing all of this karma, so that we can figure it out for ourselves. And in doing that, we become stronger, we become wiser, and we become more evolved and enlightened.
Absolutely. We are the puzzle, And I'll tell you, as an astrologer who's been doing this for 20 years professionally, I'm still seeing some of my chart I didn't look at. Like, how could I not see that? Things you ignored or were blind from. I use a blend of astrology and psychic awareness. Like with clients, I just look at the planet, and then the information comes on the planet. It's like I can read, just start streaming based on the planet. So my guides use astrology to talk to me, and as sign language, kind of really,
Oh, I love
which is a different kind of twist. But yeah, and I
Yeah,
didn't realize it. But yeah, it took me a while to figure out what's going on. I thought I was lying. It didn't feel like it was, I just information was coming, and then the client was like, "Oh my God, it's amazing," and you're like, "Okay." You have to just learn how to trust it
yeah,
over time, and it just works, right? That's
yeah, and
interesting.
that's the thing, trusting in your abilities, as
Yeah,
particularly when it may not align with the mathematics or, the
right.
angles, because I'm sitting there kind of working out the mathematics and the angles and and reverting back to what I've learnt, in my school and in my work. This means that, that means that, but you're simply feeling it. And I think that that's a wonderful place to get to be able to do a reading based on that.
It's
Yeah.
fun, and you learn. I mean, they've taught me things that aren't popular about astrology, so I've
Yeah.
learned things that I think are true about astrology that is not out yet. Like, and I get taught things, which is really fascinating. One thing I like about hearing about your work is that you stay very sun sign focused. That is cool. I think you're cool. I really think you're
It's
cool. What's that?
it's hard. It is
It is.
definitely a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that though my calling is to reach people
Mm.
through their interest in the sun sign horoscopes.
Yes.
This is very mainstream.
Yep.
But then my hope is that my strength lies in straddling that the two worlds between sun sign media astrology and the more academic astrology. And that's where I'm trained. I'm trained in the academic astrology, looking
Mm-hmm.
at the points and all the degrees. And my second year of study was a 4-hour math exam where we were having to
Wow.
calculate, all the different formulas.
Mm.
So, and I love that. I love getting deep. But I feel my calling with my work is to speak to those people who love their sun sign horoscopes.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrestled a little bit with the integrity of that.
Mm.
Like, how accurate is a sun sign horoscope really when you're just looking at one placement, albeit the sun, the center of our solar system, the king of our skies, yes, but it's still just one component of our charts. We know as astrologers that the gold standard is in doing a reading for someone one-on-one when you have the accurate time of birth and the date and the
Right.
location, and you've got all of the placements there, and that gives you the full picture. But I reconciled that concern by realizing that sun sign astrology is so noble because it leads people, it's like a gateway that leads people to the more comprehensive
Yes.
astrological study. And I
Yes.
think if people understand that, then they can still really get something from the sun sign horoscopes. And I do write them with as much integrity as I absolutely can. I think, throughout the world, there are a lot of media astrologers, sun sign astrologers who are excellent astrologers, but there are some who are journalists turned astrologer.
Okay.
They're really more in the journalism space.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly with pop culture now, everyone's an astrologer, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think we need to be, the people listening, be very, very careful with who you're consuming your astrology from.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, yeah,
And your heart will tell you that. I think I feel that solar. So I call it solar astrology. With the sun signs, I feel
yeah,
that they go with the natal because, to me, the energy goes through the solar and then rains upon the natal, and they're combined. I feel like it's source energy, and so you're
yeah,
finding out where the source of their energy is coming, the Aries source, and I can compel a person just on their sun sign. And I agree with you. You're not gonna. You got to walk before you run. You got to learn your basics, your 12 signs, your 12 archetypes, your 12 states of awareness. And the qualities of them. But having reported on astrology now for this is my 19th year on YouTube, I've
wow,
been fascinated watching. I know, isn't that amazing? Yeah, I
that's
was the
amazing.
first astrologer on YouTube actually, the first one because it was brand new.
Oh,
I'm a techie, so I'm all about the techie. And I thought it was just cool to be up there. And I didn't even get any views for I didn't even get any views for several weeks. But I was up there doing it. But
Yeah.
it's been fun to watch the sun signs mature, to see them evolve, right? Have you watched, like, the Arises have evolved? I've been talking about, Arises are now calmer than they were when I used to know them. And like, they're kind of, it's almost like Libras and Arises are trading places, it seems to me. Where the Libras are getting a bit more aggressive and a bit more in their power, and Aries are kind of, relaxing. And this is me, one thing about astrology on the internet that you may know or already experienced or not, is the immediate feedback from the consumer. Like,
Yeah.
if you do an Aries horoscope, you got a bunch of Aries telling you you're wrong. You got to, you know what I mean? Like, you know what you're talking about. But it's like that feedback of like, oh, okay, yes, you're right. Like, the way I put it, maybe it wasn't that quite, maybe it is this more approach where I could finesse the communication of it, because I was trying to be entertaining sometimes, and I would use words that they didn't like, right?
Right, right, right. And Aries Libra, we've just had
The
the
nodes.
eclipse,
Yeah.
yeah, and nodes in these signs. So they've absolutely evolved. They've been sort of thrust into change that has challenged them, and that always winds up in an evolution of the
Mhm.
sun sign. But the sun is absolutely all the planets answer to the gravitational force of the sun. So I think people most often really resonate with their sun sign. And
Totally.
most people who, perhaps don't know the ins and outs of astrology and its complexity, they might be just comfortable looking at the sun sign horoscopes and looking at what their sun is doing. And that's perfectly fine because everyone's on their own journey doing their own thing.
No,
Mm.
totally. Although I'm surprised, when I started out, I was scared to tell people I was an astrologer. I kept the secret like it was a dark secret, and people would ask me what I do, and they're like, "Oh, you look through telescopes." Not really, like they thought I was thinking astronomy, and so I would say, "Well, what's your sign?" They wouldn't even know. Like, what are you talking about?
Oh,
And that was kind of the beginning. Now maybe I was attracting that because of my fears, those types of people. I was at a restaurant like with it, like she must have been 17. She was a teenager working at a restaurant. And she's like, "What do you do?" "I'm an astrologer." She's like, "Oh my God, my sun is this, and my rising is that, and my moon." I'm like, "Oh my!" And then I was stunned. I'm like, they know their sun and rising now. Like it's
yeah.
the TikTokers, the kids are getting it. Like this younger generation, they breathe it. Have you
Yes.
noticed that? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. The resurgence of astrology. And
Mm-hmm.
what? It's a wonderful thing, but it's also a little bit dangerous
Mm-hmm.
because astrology has a certain stigma to it. I mean, this is why it's attracted so much criticism, out in mainstream media, because people have this preconception about astrology being
Mm-hmm.
a scam. And
Mm-hmm.
these are the people who don't understand, obviously, the complexities of astrology. But it's definitely become popularized recently over the last few years. And I think this is largely due to the widespread information that's been
Mm.
getting there through social media,
Oh
with
yeah,
yeah.
totally. And they
And
made it fun. When you watch like the TikTok astrologers, they're being entertaining, fun. They're playing with it. They're not really taking it seriously, and so it's like a sitcom or it's like a game show for them. And people, so it's a whole nother language that way, which I've always thought astrology needed to do, lighten up a little bit, right? Yeah.
oh,
So
okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, yes, but again, it's that fine line that we have to tread very, very cautiously.
yeah.
Otherwise, we do put out that idea that astrology is superficial
Mm,
and have a lot to offer,
right.
um, and is not sort of based in the ancient science
Right.
and ancient practice that it is. So I think it's important to continue to honor that,
Mm-hmm.
especially as a sun sign astrologer,
Yeah.
for the TikTok astrologers out there. But yes, I mean, it's that fine line. You want to attract people. And the reason why you want to attract people is because you want to help them. You want them to understand that astrology can be a wonderful tool for them to make their lives better, to help them understand themselves and their relationships better. And
Yeah.
that's what we want to do as astrologers. Ultimately, it's an act of service, says the sixth house sun sign.
Yeah, active service and a Virgo moon at that too. Um, I feel, honestly, just gabbing that they know it's real, these young kids who are playing with it. And when they want to know, I think they'll grow up and they'll want someone like yourself, the real deal. I think that's going to turn into the real deal. That this won't blow up astrology. It'll turn into a huge market and they'll want the masters like you. They will. You know, they're just young now. That's what I can tell. So don't worry. This is a huge wave of customers coming for
Yeah,
you.
well, I'm getting a psychic reading as a bonus.
Yeah, yes, it's free of charge. Now, I was reading in your bio and stuff that Diane provided that you believe in two sides of the planet, a light and negative shadow expression. That you
Yes.
believe, yes, and I agree with you. In fact, my mind blew up because when I started astrology, all the books were shadow. There was no light. If you had this square, you're gone. Like it was, you end up crying looking up these aspects because like, the person ends up being a rapist or something like that. And you're like, what? Like there was no end. It was very dark. And then I think it was I think Jill. It was one of the authors. I'll think of her, where she provided this approach. It revolutionized my approach on astrology. Like, it depends on I believe it depends on the client. What do you believe it depends on?
Yeah,
Light or dark?
absolutely. I believe it depends on our free will and how we
Mm,
choose to work with the energy. So that's why I say every planet, every sign, every aspect has a light and a shadow expression, or a positive and a negative expression.
mm-hmm.
Now, that we do get the cosmic climate, energetic parameters with which
Mm,
we have to work. And
mm-hmm.
some of that climate can be more challenging
Mm-hmm.
than others.
Yeah.
But we still have a fair degree of free will. And if we understand the astrology, or we go to an excellent astrologer, then we can be supported in the choices and the decisions we make and the timing around that and so on. But oh my gosh, what you're talking about with, the charts and people feeling like they're going to turn out horribly if they've got a bad chart, that is just such unethical astrology, in my
Right.
view. In fact, over the 24 years that I've been studying this, I have seen some charts with very challenging aspects, fixed grand squares,
Mm,
all squares, oppositions, and with Neptune and Saturn and the midheaven and Mars in Algol, another fixed star that is a very challenging fixed star.
yes. Oh gosh.
And then look, in retrospect, seeing how these people have actually worked with these
Yep.
incredible challenges and how they've risen through those challenges and become powerful influences in our society, and have carved change and been pioneers in their field. But if you've got a chart full of trines, which is all easy flowing, kind of the planets connecting in a little party mode, you have so much talent and so many gifts, and life is going to be so easy and flow for you. Often I find these people it's wonderful. I wouldn't knock back a trine, but often these people can sort of float around in a bit of a circle. They need that grounded challenge in order to channel those gifts and those challenges.
Yeah.
So, yes, I do believe that some of our greatest challenges can be our greatest gifts,
Mm-hmm.
and that we get to really choose and use our free will to decide how we use the energies that are given to us in our birth charts, and also in the current planetary transits as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Absolutely. So basically, do you feel that people ascend above their chart like progression? I mean, how do you look at progressions?
Oh yeah, I love secondary progressions.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. My secondary progressed sun is in Leo right about now. So
Couldn't tell. Yeah,
uh,
couldn't tell. Had
with a
no
little,
idea. Yeah, I'm a Cancer. My South
are you,
Node. Here I am
are you,
again. Yeah,
is your secondary progressed sun on your Cancer South Node?
it
So
is actually this year.
so you're really living out a lot of karma right now.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yes. Thank you for the mercy. Yeah. No, it's been tough. It really has been tough. And I mean, I'm not complaining, but I just want to tell people it gets tough no matter what I know what's going on. It's hard. Like, still very hard. It's really hard. Although, I don't know, I feel like the degrees leading up to the South Node were the hardest. I find that the leading up is the hardest of the roller coaster,
Yeah.
and then once you're there, I find actually 2 degrees away is the hardest, is what I
Oh,
find. Just in all my
interesting.
studies and watching people, yeah. I mean, especially Pluto 2 degrees away. Pluto annihilates 2 degrees away. Their lives,
Oh,
like everything, and they're still cleaning up the mess when Pluto. By the time Pluto conjuncts, you've already been turned into a park. You know, it's like the building's been bulldozed and it's a park now kind of thing. I found in the research I do with clients and things. So, yeah. So,
I would say that applying aspect is even active, and it depends, of course, on which planet it is.
oh, sure. Yeah.
Slow-moving planets coming up to your sun sign, moon sign, or any of those core 4 placements, they're going to be intense. And I would say that you probably feel them even 10 degrees away, possibly even more, feeling that approach, you know, even the year before that actually triggers the exact spot. But yes, I've had Pluto.
You like have a bad feeling. You have a bad feeling. You're not sure what it is. You're not sure. Something feels wrong. Something feels off. Like those are like approaching. Yeah.
Yeah, or everything in your life just starts to disintegrate and leave. You know, you lose your job, or your relationship breaks down, or you just get this yearning for something more. And sometimes the harder you cling on to those things, when, you know, the planet, the universe is saying, no, it's in your best interest that these things leave because you're ascending higher now. But we're still having a human experience, and the ego is very much, you know, part of that. So we cling on for reasons of fear or emotional security or financial security, which is completely understandable. But in doing that, we halt the progress of where that planet wants to take us.
Yeah. We resist and it gets worse. The tension gets worse. Yeah. And it becomes harder. So if you resist, it's harder. How do you feel about compatibility? I mean, do you have, you know, it's difficult. I mean, the compatibility in astrology, but do you have like one thing you see in 2 charts coming together that you just know they're meant to be together?
Wow. The answer to, so firstly, about compatibility, you know, I get so many people saying, oh, you know, I'm this sign and I'm been married to this sign for X amount of years and we're very happily married, but our astrology says we're not compatible. Right. So I will always say, of course, compatibility, particularly romantic compatibility, has actually got so much more to do with the Venus sign, Mars sign, moon sign than your sun sign, right? Because when you think about compatibility between 2 people's sun signs, this is their basic characters. So yes, you want your basic character to be compatible, but so much more importantly is that your moon signs are compatible, because this represents our emotional landscape, how we give and receive nurturing. And then the Venus sign is our love language and the type of partner we might attract and the type of partner we might be in a romantic relationship. And then Mercury as well as how we will communicate, which is a cornerstone of a healthy relationship. So that's my thing that I say to people: look beyond your sun sign, look at all of these placements and how they're connecting. Just by sign is enough. Totally. What I really notice with a strong compatibility, with soulmate compatibility, is when the nodes, so the other person's nodes or your nodes, fall on the angles. So across the 1st and 7th house axis, or the 4th and 10th house axis. If you have nodes that align there, this is really a soulmate connection. I will say, of course, soulmates, as you would know, Christopher, we meet so many soulmates in our lifetime. And I think the karmic contract is really just to meet in this lifetime to learn and grow together. It's not necessarily the person that you're going to live out the rest of your years with and have a happy marriage or relationship with. Right. In fact, I think a lot of soulmate connections can come with a lot of toxicity and a lot of pain. Yeah.
I think soulmates are everything. It's in some cases, I mean, they never stick around, soulmates. I mean, I joke I have like 5 past life wives, you know, that I've been married to, and I can feel her, she's upset. I can know when she's upset with me, like, you know, that kind of thing. But some have reminded me of my talents I forgot. Some are like, you're good at this, don't you know? Like, some have reminded me of my faults, you know, some mirror my faults, you know. They're like memory triggers of issues that kind of get packed in a bag to the next life, I find, which is interesting. And in compatibility for me, when I find a couple that's like not stuck, but just like they're not maybe it's extremely happy, romantic in love, but they're strong, like they're going together for a long time. It's actually, I see this dynamic of his strong is on her weak is on his strong. It's actually based on weakness. It's based on challenge. It's based on teamwork and covering and patching the holes where the others can't patch. It's not very romantic, but it is strong, you know?
I love that. So it's like a balancing of the energies.
Yeah.
And in my school, we learned to practice where we would calculate all of the placements and signs,
Mm.
and this would give us a signature sign.
Oh, okay.
It worked on the other side as well, though, with an anti-signature sign. And the signature sign is basically the modality and the element that your entire chart is strongest in. So for me, it's fixed fire, which is Leo. So Leo is my signature sign. And my anti-signature sign are all the modalities and the elements that I have not so much of in my chart, which is cardinal earth, which is Capricorn. And what I find is that Capricorns are very good for me because they balance out that energy. And in fact, my ex-husband's signature was Capricorn and his anti-signature was Leo. So in there, we were balancing each other out. And this even applied to our children as well. So that can be really helpful. And sometimes the right partner for you is not necessarily the one with the same signs or the same elements, but that is kind of general rule of thumb with compatibility, right? But I think it also works in the opposite way, where we might look to someone to balance what we lack in our charts, which is exactly what you were saying. Yeah.
Or activate, because otherwise, damn that woman, they get to you right where it hurts or whatever, their energy like steps on it and you step on their sore toe and it forces them to grow, I find. One of the things I have, women in particular, because most of my audience is women. Hi, ladies. They come for love readings and they're like, where's the one? And I look at their chart and they haven't healed from the last one as far as the trans are concerned. They're not completing the transits yet. And I'm just like, I think you're going to attract the same kind of guy because you're still in the same kind of mode. They don't want to hear that, and so a lot of for love, is that you got to keep growing. I think that if you want great love, then you've got to be the great person you are on the inside. You got to face that and bring your greatness out. Because I find when you study, like I've had clients for, 25 years, watch them through all that. And I've watched it go from the damage, from the hip, the bad guy, the motorcycle, that move through it till finally, they fall in love with boring guy, you know what I mean? Like, or whatever, but it was the guy, at the end of the day, they had to go through these waves of karma. And each time these different people were stepping on different sore toes, so it's interesting to watch over a lifetime if you have the luck of seeing a client that long,
I absolutely agree with you. And I've actually had personal experience with that and had to do a lot of work on myself and really look at the reasons, why I was experiencing the relationships that I was. And so I think, there in the chart can help us to rise to our highest potential as an individual. Yeah. And then we're attracting the right type of partner. And it depends, like when we're talking about the secondary progressed chart, this is a chart that's progressed to where we are at a certain age and stage of our life. So it does also depend on what's happening in our astrology, and certain partners are right for us in certain periods because they teach us things. And for me now, I've got a beautiful supportive partner. And when I looked at his chart, I thought, oh, wonderful, because this person is going to support me in doing what I need to do out in the world. And the timing was right for that. Whereas previously there were other lessons that I needed to learn, and I had a partner step in to help me rise to that occasion. And that was a difficult process. But I think my energy and where I'm at astrologically now, it's all about my work and loving a beautiful partner who's supportive. And, you can see the astrology. We both have Mars in Cancer. Although that can lead to a bit of passive aggression there, people. So, and we have Venus in Cancer. So both very, very nurturing. He's a Cancer sun sign. I'm a Gemini. When I first met him, I said, darling, we have so much compatibility. It's going to be a wonderful relationship, but I'm a Gemini, so I'm going to be out there a little bit more. And he said, that's fine. I'll keep the home fires burning. And I thought, what a Cancerian thing to say.
I know, yeah.
God. Totally. But we both have a Leo moon, so that keeps things a bit fun.
I have a Leo moon too. Let's see, what degree is your Leo moon?
Mine's 4 degrees.
Okay, 4. Okay.
where's yours at?
21, when it starts to get fun.
Yeah.
21 when it starts to get fun. Yeah. 21s
Okay,
are
well,
fun.
yeah, 21 is fun. You're starting to head towards Regulus is what my midheaven is at 27 of Leo. So
Oh, okay.
very
Great.
close to my midheaven. Yes, bit wide.
Interesting. Yeah, it's in my first house. I have a rising of 9 degrees Leo. So a very childlike prince that then acts like a king, like thinks he's a king, who's actually a prince, like that young, I find that the higher the degree, so I've been studying the degrees. That's my mastery. That's my specialty. I call them steps. And I've decoded some interesting things. And one thing I have decoded is that the higher the number, the more mature they are in the sign. So the more
Yeah,
sophisticated they are, right?
yes.
So you can tell how much past life experience they have with that energy. 4 is a little rebel, kind of, a little self-sabotage at times, I
Yeah.
find. It's an Aquarian degree. Well, to yourself, though, not to the world. Just only you and you know it, right?
And Pluto in Aquarius is opposing my moon or approaching that.
Oh,
So look out. But
okay.
I love the steps. I love that philosophy with the steps. And what it makes me think of is the secondary progressed chart and the secondary progressed sun. So when it first enters 0 degrees of the next sign, this is where it's like you're just being introduced to the themes according to this new sun sign that you have. But as you develop through that sign over the 30 years, you peak in your experience and in mastering the traits that sun sign might be bringing into your life, or how you're projecting those traits.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I don't know, there's so much to discover. Do you use prenatal solar and lunar eclipses in your readings? Prenatal solar and lunar eclipses?
I don't use them, but I have looked at the lunar Saros cycles, not so much the solar Saros. I have a colleague in the senior research group of the AAAC, and he's written a book, an incredible book on the lunar Saros cycles, and his name is Murray Beaucamp. And so, yes, a little shout out to his book. I know the lunar Saros cycle. I was born on a saint. Oh, I can't recall her name. She was a saint that was actually burnt at the stake.
Oh, no. Okay.
Born on the same Saros cycle as she was, because as you know, they go sort of way back into history and also into the future, and they're all connected. But I don't use them in my work. They are, are deeply profound. I'd love to use all sorts of methods in my work. I'd love to study all sorts of methods. I'd love to study Vedic astrology as well.
Me too.
If only I had more than one lifetime to do that, which I do.
Yeah. Well, like a surgeon, you use the tools that work best, and it's about the client's successful surgery. The chart I drew for you, I think your solar eclipse is at 19 Aries. If I'm not mistaken, does that resonate? 19 Aries, 19 degrees Aries, or maybe not?
For my at where? Sorry.
Your prenatal solar eclipse, and we don't have to get there. It's just the only reason I bring it up is because Chiron has been on it forever.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that actually. So
yeah, so I would think it's activating that life. I personally believe the prenatal solar eclipses are past lifetimes that we pack a full suitcase. Like it's almost a second sun in your chart.
Right, like the secondary progressed sun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a whole sun that you have, like a whole nother personality you pack, which explains all these hidden talents and things you have that don't come with the natal sign that you have. Yeah, but I agree with you. There's so much to study. And have you dabbled in human design yet? That's another one that's just like, whoa.
Yeah, I think I'm a generating manifestor.
Yes, totally manifest generator. And I'm an emotional generator too. So yeah.
Emotional
Now I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm seeing a lot of interest from my clients in it. They're asking me stuff now, and I'm like, okay, here we go to school. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. It's a whole new area of study that obviously relates to astrology, but it's a study in itself. So again, time poor. That's what I am, time poor. Otherwise, I definitely delve into that because people are interested in human design. So it's another layer. And I think really all of these layers work. I've looked at my Vedic chart. I actually have a Scorpio rising in my Vedic chart, and I think it's a Taurus sun sign, because that's 3 degrees behind, right? So yes, I've had a little dabble with the Vedic, and I find it just fascinating. But what's fascinating about it is it doesn't negate the Western astrology. I
No.
think it enhances, because human beings, we're so complex, so
Mm-hmm.
incredibly complex. And when people say to me, oh, you know, I have fire in my chart, but then I have earth, and it all negates, because I'm meant to be going, but then I'm also meant to be shy here. And I say, yes, but that's perfect, because if you have a balance of varying energies, this is healthy. This is a healthy balance of energies in a person. But if you were all fire, for example, you'd just be a bulldozer. So I think all the layers and all the complexities are actually healthy, and they work well.
You can't deny them. And then you go, is this all bull? You know, like, how can they all be right? But you know, they are. I mean, numerology, it all just keeps saying the same thing and the same thing and the same thing about me. You know, so you get kind of, Vedic, I'm an Aries, which, you know, I've got Chiron in Aries in my Western, so I totally identify with that side, that side of myself. And I look
Yes.
at it almost like, I know, I kind of look at it as a progression. I think like Vedic is the progressed, because that's where the Earth has progressed, you know, as far as its wobble, you know. So it's like,
Right.
and I'm, you know, the birth, you know, Western is the birth, and that's how I look at it. But tons of information in there that you don't get in other places, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
so. I was going to say, I think you've got to, ideally, you look at it all.
Oh yeah,
You look
yeah.
at it all, and you layer it up, and you see what's coming through as being most powerful at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and
And it
that's
comes when it needs to. There's a spiritual aspect to it. And there's a very spiritual aspect too. You find the right astrologer at the right time who has the right thing that, you know, that you couldn't ever, predict. And so God gets, you know, universe gets the message through one way or another, you know, and people use different modalities to do that. I'm curious on your take of this year a little bit, you know, before we let you go. Like, you know, Neptune is in the same place the last time the Americans had war with each other, you
right.
know, and Saturn has joined Neptune, and it's in numerology, it's a 9 year, and so there's a lot of Aries going on here. And what is your what is your theory about this? I mean,
Mm,
you know, we tend to have wars and kill each other. What now? What do you
yeah.
predict? Yeah.
I just think 2025 is just going to be a game-changing year. It's
Mm.
definitely a once-in-a-lifetime type of energy. You know, we've got Jupiter moving into Cancer for the first time in
Yes.
12 years. We've got Saturn moving into Aries for the first time in 29 years. Neptune
Mm.
moving into Aries for the first time in 164 years.
Mm-hmm.
Uranus moving into Gemini for the first time in 84 years. And of course, Pluto spending its first full year in Aquarius since the 1700s.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have one outer planetary shift, as you would know, this is a generational influence and a huge change. So to have all of the outer planets, of course,
Mm-hmm.
Pluto's there, but it's just going to be a game-changing year. I
Mm-hmm.
think, too, you know, this Aquarius energy is rebellious. Pluto in Aquarius is saying, I'm going to change everything, and we're moving towards the future at a very rapid rate. This is about progress and pushing us into progress probably before we're really ready. And then all of this Aries energy that's happening with, you know, the eclipses, and with Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries. This is the first sign of the zodiac. So new beginnings, and new beginnings sound beautiful and fresh and promising. And I think that's a part of it. But I think before we enter that new beginning, it's about, you know, dismantling the old guard and burning everything down. Aries is a fire sign, and look what's happening in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Astrology can be so literal like this. Everything's going to just sort of burn down. And look, you know, I've got a Sag rising, so I like to keep it positive. I think with the Saturn and Neptune in Aries, the conjunction is happening in 2026. So these two are a health combination. Hopefully we see some huge medical advancements. But definitely it's a time when we need to protect and fortify our health, particularly our immune systems. Yeah, I think the Jupiter in Cancer, this is going to bring focus on housing and potentially a housing boom. I'm sure it's the same in America, but here in Australia, we have so many people that cannot find a place to live.
Yeah.
And I think Jupiter will step in mid-year and really support these people. And we could see apartments and big housing complexes being, popping up out of sort of everywhere and out of nowhere. I think also, this is a very feminine placement, and Jupiter's very supportive, and Cancer's the sign of the mother and very female, divine feminine sign. So I think we'll see women's voices growing stronger, being supported, and certainly support for victims of domestic violence here as well, because Cancer represents the family. And with Jupiter being the planet of legal matters, we could see a legal win in this area. And then, of course, Uranus into Gemini, rapid fire changes and with media, with money, with digital currency. I hear that your president is planning on bringing out his own cryptocurrency. Isn't that so? And he's a Gemini, right? So this is very
22-degree Gemini, 22.
Okay.
And so in my experience, 22 is a little chaos. 22 is chaos.
All right.
Sometimes good, sometimes bad chaos, but it's chaos. I mean, when because 2 is emotion, so when the two twos bounce off each other, it gets a little crazy,
Okay, and 22 is a master number as well, though, right?
Yeah, and it adds to a 4, which is Aquarius, so it means the innovation and, change. So, yeah, that's interesting. I kind of feel like, Uranus in Gemini the last time was really the birth of the computer, really.
Right.
They were actually doing computing back then in World War II. It just was not, the very, very seeds of it. And now it's AI, like where computers go from there. It's interesting. The advancement of electricity and power and, and alternative power. It's going to be, fascinating, I think.
Absolutely. Huge progression. And we're seeing, I think Pluto in Aquarius as well is going to really, as I mentioned before, shift the social media landscape. Technology is just going to be escalating at a rapid pace. Yeah. So, and also how we use power and where we source our power from. I think the nuclear power debate will heat up.
Yes.
With Pluto in Aquarius. Are we sourcing our power from green sources? Because Aquarius, it's about the people and the environment and supporting that and sustaining that. So these are some questions we're going to have to be looking at. Yeah.
It'll be fascinating. Before we go, I want to know about your celestial compass. Like this is your book you wrote, right?
Yes.
So tell me about it, because I'm writing a book and I'm just curious as a fellow astrologer. Like, what did you write and what's it about?
Oh, thank you so much. I actually have a copy right here.
It's beautiful. Wow, what a great cover.
I'm very, very proud of it. It took me 7 years to write this book. 7 years very off and on. And really, I started writing it as a process to bring awareness to the sun signs and to go deeper into the sun signs, because I felt, as we were talking about before, that this was my calling, but I wanted to go deeper and I wanted to break the stereotypical interpretations of a lot of the signs. Like, for example, that all Leos are meant to be uber confident. And yes, confidence is a theme that's associated with Leo, but for some Leos, that might mean that their journey in this lifetime as a Leo is to build that confidence. So they might start out, especially with Leo moons, actually, I find, they might start out really shy and battling issues of confidence.
I did.
So I talk about all of these qualities about each sun sign. I go through each of the 12 zodiac signs in absolute detail. I even talk about the mythology associated with each sign in a relatable way. The book is written for the everyday person. Don't have to be an astrologer to understand the book. That was really important to me. So, but aside from that, and then as books, and you will relate to this, Christopher, when you finish your book, you'll say, yes, Natasha, you were so right, because the way it begins is more often than not the way it ends up. So it started with, and then I went deep with the moon and the moon signs, the north node, each north node sign, the lunar phases as well, which is such an integral part of who we are and our life experiences, because this is about the relationship between the sun and the moon in our charts.
Yes.
So important. And then I I also talk about cusp signs. That's a whole other area.
Yeah.
And the birth chart as well, and just breaking down the birth chart and each rising sign, each midheaven sign. I talk about the big three, and I really feel strongly that the midheaven's been left out of this. This is a popular kind of pop culture idea or a little saying about the big three, but it should really be the core four, because the midheaven is equally, as you know, equally as important as the rising sign. So I talk about all of that. So it's almost like a layering up. It's like a birth chart reading, layering up all of the information of your sun, moon, lunar phase, north node placements. But then in the last part of the book, I go into the planetary cycles and how they affect our lives and our experiences. And so the Saturn return, for example, which comes around the age of 29, but also the mini milestones that occur every 7 years in the lead up to that, which is what you were sort of talking about before.
Yeah.
There's a chapter on Mercury retrograde and how to use it in a positive way. You know, therein comes the light and the shadow expression. Yes, it can bring difficulties, but you can use it wisely in your life as well.
Wow, brilliant. I think
And
it's the perfect level for where we are, because I think that generation is going to come up, and I think they're going to get out of the bubblegum compatibility videos, and they're going to want to know.
yeah,
I predict you're going to do really well with this book. Is it just come out, or has it been out for a while?
thank you. It's been out. It came out in October of last year.
Okay.
But to be honest, as you know, an astrologer's busiest time is in the lead up to the end of the year and the beginning of the following year. So it's been really busy.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, you know, the book is still, it's needing to get out there. And I'm doing on Tuesday a big talk in one of my local libraries to a packed house, which I'm very excited, a little bit nervous about. And I'll be doing book signings there. So it's, yeah, it's all, yeah.
Yeah, your Leo Moon loves it. Admit it. That's great. Well, it's been a pleasure to meet you, and thank you for coming across. I don't know what time it is there, but thank you. And you know, your website is, I'm sure, will tell us all about you, and where we can get your book. And I'd love for you to come back sometime and talk sun signs again if you like sometime.
I would absolutely love that. Thank you so much for the wonderful conversation, Christopher. Really
Thank
appreciate
you. It was really wonderful. Have a great 2025. Good luck.
Thank you. Yes, good luck. Thank you so
Good
much.
luck. All right. Thank you. Bye bye. How wonderful. It's so nice talking to astrologers. I just, can't get enough. And actually, I was holding back from getting really deep in geeking out, so that was the easy one. But our audience is really sophisticated, so we could have gone there if we wanted to. I think it was a nice blend and great energy. And wow, congratulations to her for being on the air. Wow. I sometimes wonder if America will ever have that kind of courage, if it'll ever be mainstream, because, it's so accurate. What blows me away, and I didn't get a chance to talk to her about this, was that there's so much wisdom there that we don't look at that could be so helpful to everything. You know what I mean? Imagine if they talked about the birth charts in a presidential debate. Imagine that. There's a presidential birth chart. It would change the world, but we'll see. It's the dawn of the age of Aquarius. We'll just have to find out, and we'll just keep studying together. Well, friends, it's time to wrap up the show. I feel like I should play some music here. So proud to be here. So proud that you come. So grateful that you come every week. And I'm here for you. And so is our staff at SiriusJoy.com. One thing that's here for you, of course, is the Countdown 2025 webinar. I'm not going to talk about this much longer, so if you're tired of hearing about it, thank you for being patient. But some people don't hear. And it is a full webinar, 2.5 hours, laying out 2025, all the potholes, all the issues, all the dangerous curves you have to get around, and put simply and easy to digest. So SenseiChristopher.com is where you go for that, and you will instantly be able to watch. And, some people say I'm really good to fall asleep to. I'm just saying. So also, we want to point out that we have so many programs at Sirius Joy. One that we're quite proud of that just came out is the Self-Study Hall Pluto Generations. This is a cool idea. With Robbie Hunt, we took a Pluto Libran, a Pluto Scorpion, a Pluto Sag. We took a Pluto from all the generations that are alive right now and did a comparison about their issues and the astrology and learned about it. It was the Robbie Hunt original there. Totally great show and very fascinating. It's kind of like we're kind of getting like our own National Geographics there and doing stuff like that. So very cool. Congratulations, Robbie. You did a great job. Also, speaking of Robbie, my co-host on the Zodiac Mega Monthly Reports that we do every month. It's not like a news show. I mean, Robbie and I are like co-anchors. We're on TV. We used to do them on audio, and we're back to back, and we're coming in talking about Aries and, tag teaming. You get basically a full hour of the month of Aquarius, and then we have 12 videos for each of the signs. So it's a great way to look up everyone see what the themes are for Aquarius. And we focus it on the month of Aquarius, the month of Pisces, and so on. We used to be calendar month. We found this is a better way to go. If you don't know, Mary Magdalene is a star on Sirius Joy. Yes, the real one, coming in through Krista Marie Miller. We have a show called Sovereign Revolution. It comes on 3 days a week, where she actually, that she is in Krista, channels Mary Magdalene, and Mary Magdalene has some stuff to say, including the step numbers and the fundaments. You got to hear it to believe it, y'all. You have to hear it to believe it. But that is on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays exclusively on SiriusJoy.com. And lastly, if you would like to advertise on our shows, we're going to be ramping up advertisement. And when I say advertise, I mean you're a reader in Ohio and you need new clients. Come advertise on our show. I want to help the people who are just starting out. We want to help the people who have small businesses and want to be introduced, especially if you're talented. There's not many people in your hometown that are going to appreciate it. We have to get out there and find where our clientele is. And I'll tell you, your clientele is watching this show. I'll tell you that right now. So if you'd like to be a part of that, it's not going to be crazy expensive. It's going to be affordable. We're not looking to, retire off of this feature. We do have an email address, and it is advertise@SiriusJoy.com. And Jenny D will get back to you and talk to you about it. We're also taking advertisements now for Unite the Light 2, which I'll say a little bit about. It's going to be May 17th and 18th. And it's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. It's going to be fun. Because we have this other thing called Afterglow that happens after. Yeah, you would say that with that word, right? All right, friends. Well, that's it for this week. But I'll see you next. I hope you have a great week. Good luck with the new moon. Step into your power. I love you. Live, love, be.
It's Sirius Joy, Joy, Joy.